Hello, we're live. This is over and over and over again, and this is the Arsenal versus Liverpool live fan cam show. Hello, I'm Richard. Welcome back to my channel over and over and over again. The usually positive Arsenal channel, although there isn't a lot to be positive about at the moment following that performance last night. Normally, of course, I would do these fan cam shows directly after the game, but it was a late finish last night, and I don't think any of us were really in the mood to talk about it at that point anyways, but we're going to do it today. I've got some good guests lined up, actually. It's going to be a good show, this. We can get it all off our chest, and hopefully we can then move forward onto Thursday with a little bit more positivity in our minds. The first guest joining me he's been on before. It's always a pleasure to have him on. It is, of course, Dave from the Out and Out Gunners podcast. How you doing, Dave? You all right?
Good, Rich. Still recovering from last night, but overall good. I want try and get out into the good weather and don't let this defeat linger over me for too long anyway. So.
Yes, I mean it was a bad one, wasn't it? I mean we've suffered a few this season, unfortunately, poor performances, and this one for me was probably one of the worst of the lot. I mean, if we start maybe with a lineup, I know that there was a few injuries, a few players missing. So looking at all the circumstances, what did you make of the lineup that Arteta picked?
His hands were tied slightly. Look, as you touched on with the injuries of that, I wouldn't have started Chambers right back. I said that before the game, Rich. He had a good game against West Ham, but there were circumstances there as to why he had a good game. West Ham weren't actually attacking once Chambers had started actually having his good game up against Mane as well. I never fancied him up against Mane. You're kind of bringing Rob Holding in out of the cold. He hadn't played for so long, and then you're kind of just throwing him back in out of the cold again. I would have went with Mari and Gabriel. I know people will say, "Oh, it's two left footers," but I'm not really one of those people that buy into that too much. You know, Campbell and Toure weren't. Both of those were right-footed, and they won a league unbeaten. So, I don't see that has been too much of a factor. Midfield, his hands there were probably tied. It's kind of a flip of a coin. Do you want El Neni or do you want Ceballos? Look, it's, as I said, it's a flip of a coin. Both of them are probably. I can't even think of a Premier League team. If you look down along the table, who either of those would start with. So that shows you their level. Aubameyang on the left. It didn't work against West Ham. He's trying to shoehorn him into the team again. We know Aubameyang on the left, the forward line has no balance. It just never works. And Lacazette and Aubameyang, that has never worked from day one. No. And you're kind of just going back to why couldn't he have played Martinelli and then have either Lacazette or Aubameyang up front? Look, Pepe kind of got in right wing because Saka was injured, and then look, Odegaard, to be fair to him, is picking himself at the minute. Yeah, look, I suppose there was two or three that I would say I would have done differently, but and at the other side of it, then look, his hands were probably tied a small bit, but that doesn't allow for the shit show that happened for 90 minutes after that.
No, exactly. I mean, I was going to come on to that. I mean, for me, yes, we had some key players missing. Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe particularly have been big players for us. And I feel as though Xhaka and David Luiz are the two leaders in the team, and they were both missing as well. So yes, Mikel Arteta's hands were tied, but for me, that doesn't excuse the lack of effort and the lack of ideas. Really, we didn't seem to have a plan, did we? I mean, what did you make of the whole performance, really, from the start to finish? I thought it was really, really poor.
Spineless, Rich. No effort, no passion, no desire. You're looking around. You're looking at your captain. He's the biggest coward on the field. We lost Tierney after 40 minutes. That's probably a bigger actual loss than the loss itself. He's probably your only leader. We lost him. God knows how long he's going to be out for. We slate Luiz and Xhaka enough, but you can see why they're in the team, because when they're out of the team, that's what you get. I didn't get the tactics at all. As I said, with the Chambers right back, I didn't get that. We were like Stoke under Pulis last night, Rich. We got the ball. They were afraid to play the ball. They were hoofing it down the wing. hoofing it up to Lacazette up against two big centre halves. The centre halves looked like Vidic and Ferdinand because they didn't have anything to do. They just mopped up way long, hopeful high balls, and then Trent had the freedom of the wing, and then Mane had the run of it. Look, he probably didn't need bringing Cedric on. I'd say that kind of he was going to save him for Thursday night maybe, but
exactly.
he was forced there. But I just didn't get it. Ceballos, he lost the ball more times than I'd say than he won it or passed the ball from what I can remember. I feel for Partey a small bit, but look, he shouldn't get he was decent in stages, but other times then he wasn't so great. So look, he isn't fully free from criticism as well. I thought Gabriel had his worst game for us ever last night. The pass for the goal, the third goal, I think it was. The second goal, he had the chance to clear it when he slid and he let the ball get stuck underneath his feet. Rob Holding got caught from a cross again to the smallest man on the pitch. We see that against Man City. We saw it again last night. That isn't a coincidence. That's a thing. That's an area that's wrong if that's happened again. Ultimately, what disappointed me the most is Rich's how cowardly it was. They didn't put in a tackle. They didn't try and get on the ball to play. Maybe that's probably what they were told to do. We'll hit it long. Trent Alexander-Arnold, though, he's suspect defensively, so everyone says. So we'll try to get the ball in behind him. But the passes were poor. Every single thing was wrong about it. That was a tribute night to Rocky Rocastle. And you had 11 cowards on the field that didn't show any respect to anyone.
No, and that made it kind of worse for me actually. The fact that it was Rocastle's day, that the program was all about Rocastle. Yeah. They had the thing at 7 minutes, and all the banners and stuff like that, and they had a shirt in the dressing room and everything like that. And it's like if even that on its own can't motivate these players, then what hope is it? I mean, I'm questioning Arteta more and more. I think with every game at the moment, because for me, I think he's probably a very good coach, and I think he'll go on to prove to be a very good coach. But I don't believe he's a very good manager. And I think what Arsenal need and what we've needed is strong leadership off the pitch. We need it on the pitch, which we don't really have. And so we certainly need it off the pitch. And I don't think Arteta is a leader off the pitch. I don't think he is. And not what we need to move the club forward. And you can see this more and more as the pressure's starting to build. The performances are getting worse. And it's, you can't send the team out. Everybody knows how Liverpool play. They played the same way for 4 or 5 years under Klopp. Everybody knows they're going to press. They're going to press, and they're going to get balls into the box. You know what they're going to do. So it's not like that was a surprise. Yes, they maybe played better than recent weeks. That was probably fair enough. But their system, and you've got to be able to have some plan to counteract that system. Last year, maybe, I don't know whether he thought to himself, last season, we soaked up the pressure, caught them on the break. They made 2 mistakes. We scored and won the game. And I don't know whether he thought, well, let's try and do that again. But that was a one-off, wasn't it? You're never going to get lucky like that twice.
And they had the League One at that point, Rich, as well. So you're always going after that 3%.
Yeah, and I think that Chelsea's maybe defeat as well suddenly opened up the top 4 for Liverpool again. They looked at that and thought, we have to win this game. And you could see their attitude to that game was 100% focused on winning. And our attitude was, well, I don't know what our attitude was. We didn't have an attitude for that game at all, do we? And that comes from me. That comes from the manager, the way he sets the team up and the way he sent them out there.
There was talks pre-game. Oh, this is a free hit. What? Where was the free hit? I didn't see this free hit. Gary Neville was saying it in commentary that Arteta was mentioning about it being a free hit. If we won, we were 5 or 6 behind Chelsea with a favourable run in. Look, I'm not saying we would have got top 4, but you could have given it a run at least. You're playing Liverpool at home, and it's a free hit. Where's this talk coming from, mate? That resonated to what happened on the field, possibly. What was said in the dressing room. Were they talking about a free hit in the dressing room? Because they certainly looked like fellas that were playing a friendly type game to me. Just all wrong. Look, I suppose the only thing is he didn't learn anything that he didn't know from some of the players that were there that were on the field last night. I felt a little bit sorry for Pepe. He was isolated. Look, Pepe's picking up the ball at the halfway line and he's been doubled up on. 9 times out of 10, Messi isn't going to do anything out of that situation. Look, that was our most expensive 3 signings, were our front 3 last night. They didn't muster a shot between the 3 of them. Our only shot that I can remember is that that shot from Cedric, and that was comfortable. Allison didn't. He just caught it. There wasn't anything more to it.
Yeah.
Midfield, look, I don't know. How long can we keep saying Partey's not fit? Partey's not fit enough or whatever. Look, now is the time to start to step up. We can't keep pulling this thing. Oh, he was injured. He needs this is what he was bought for, is these games, to step up and make the difference in these games. Louise and Jack are going back to major losses. When you look at your playing out of the back, Rich, we lost Louise, we lost Xhaka, and we hadn't Cedric out of that in what you play out of the back. I don't feel comfortable with holding Chambers and Ceballos playing out of the back. So maybe Arteta didn't either, and he had advised them to go along. I'm seeing things out of Leno that I hadn't seen maybe 6 months ago. That's making me uncomfortable with Leno playing out from the back. Now people are criticising Leno, but I know, while he isn't free from criticism, I think we've other areas that are a lot more that need him a lot more attention than in goals, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, without shadow of a doubt. I mean, we saw that yesterday more than anything, didn't we? I mean, two of our young academy players, one 19 years old, one 20, they didn't play. And once again, without those two in the team, we've got nothing. And it just shows where the problem throughout the squad. And you can't necessarily blame Arteta for that necessarily. But for me, he can't excuse blame for the attitude of the players that went out on that pitch yesterday. And the lack of fight, the lack of passion that they showed. And, the lack of, courage is what, word that you maybe used a bit earlier. And I think that's true. They didn't have any courage to almost as though they were beaten before we started that game. They went out there thinking, well, was it the free hit thing? I don't know. I don't know where that's come from. For me, you play for Arsenal, there's no free hit. You have to try and win.
Not against Liverpool.
Well, not against anybody for me, but yes, certainly not against Liverpool. No, exactly.
And the day that was in it, Rich, that's not a free hit.
No,
I don't know. I don't know where that talk was coming from, but we had the conversation, Rich, when we done the Let's Talk Aubameyang, and there's conversations we'll all have and had all over on other channels, doing shows about the captaincy. Look, again, it comes back to that. There was no leadership whatsoever yesterday. None whatsoever. Our captain was subbed off at 75 minutes. He actually forgot to take off the armband and give it to Lacazette. He probably doesn't even know he's captain.
No. I mean, to me that sums up. I mean, I know people could laugh at his hair and stuff like that, but to me that kind of sums up where his head's at the moment. He's more worried about stuff like that than focusing on trying to improve his performance on the pitch and being a leader. We've had a few comments in. Shane there says Arteta needs to be ruthless in dropping players or it might cost him his job. Yes, I totally agree with that. The owners need to back us in the summer. The players are really poor, they're cowards. Are the owners going to back us to the extent that we need? I'm not sure if they do. Ryan, he'll be popping on a bit later as well. He said even at 0-0, they showed no fight. Exactly right. At 0-0, we were lucky to be 0-0 as long as it was, actually. And Ryan again says, also what annoyed me more is that after the build-up being about Rocky, we didn't have a minute's silence or applause. Yeah, no, exactly. I don't know why we didn't do that. Even Leeds did it, didn't they? Leicester did it for Frank Worthington, didn't they?
Yeah.
I know he died more recently, but even so, that's no excuse that Arsenal didn't do that. That's a good point. I'm sure we can talk about it when you come on. So we played Liverpool and everybody else turned up and beat since January. Yeah, I mean, they had won 5 of their previous 6 away games, so it wasn't like that everyone's been beating them. But yeah, that was very, very poor. Mark C's in the chat as well. How you doing, Mark? Thanks for watching. He says Milner is 35 years old. He was charging around. He's a leader. We don't have anyone of that ilk. No, we don't. Well, we kind of do, I suppose. Granit Xhaka to a certain degree, obviously. Shane says, what is Pepe good at? I haven't got a clue. Falling over, running around in circles. I'm not really sure.
Don't know.
And Terry there, afternoon, chaps. Happy Easter. Happy Easter to you as well, Terry. Thanks for watching. And Mark says, Uber is not captain material. No, he isn't. Definitely, most certainly isn't. I would have took the captaincy off him probably even further back than the Tottenham game, but certainly the Tottenham
should never have got it, Rich. I suppose.
No, he should never have got it. No, he shouldn't, and he has. And unfortunately, you could see yesterday what that team lacks was leadership. We lack leadership in defence. As soon as Gabriel made that mistake for the second goal, his head went. And usually David Luiz would be there to calm him down, talk him through, and help him get through that. Rob Holding wasn't having a great game himself. He wasn't able to do that. So we lack leadership there. In midfield, Thomas Partey is still new to the Premier League. he's still adapting. So when he had no help from Ceballos, who could he turn to there? Nobody at all. And then obviously up front, you had Aubameyang, who's supposed to be the captain, Lacazette, who's sort of second captain. They offered no leadership whatsoever. When things are going against you, that's what you need. You need your leaders, or at least the people that have been nominated as leaders, to step up and do something and try to pull everybody together. And what we looked like yesterday was we looked like 11 people who'd run out onto the pitch who never even knew each other, never even met each other before. And to me, yeah. And no matter how,
go ahead.
No matter how good or bad the players are, that comes down to the manager getting them organised. And you look at Sam Allardyce as an example. I'm not saying that we should have Sam Allardyce at all, but at least with Sam Allardyce, when his team goes out, they're organised and they know what they're doing, and they'll either win or lose, but they'll know what they're doing. And yesterday we went out there with 11 strangers almost, didn't have a clue what they were doing. They were just running around all over the place, not knowing what to do. And that's not acceptable for Arsenal. It's not.
No, far from it. And what I do feel is with Rich is we had Odegaard on the field yesterday. Look, Fabinho done a job on him, but he never had a chance really to play. Like we never gave him the ball into his feet, allowed him to turn, play the passes left or right. We just kept going long. Every single time we had the ball, we kept going long. We scored a goal against Man City in the cup final. Didn't we score a goal against Liverpool? Started at the keeper, played out of the back. We finished up with scoring with Aubameyang. We were doing this, and we were meant to evolve from that. But then yesterday, we just went back to square one. That was like a performance under Wenger. That was and we slayed that. And if that was Unai Emery yesterday, everyone would be up in arms. People are saying, "Oh, it's not Arteta's fault. These are the players that." It ultimately falls at the manager's door. He picked those tactics. He picked those players. And look, I'm his biggest fan, Rich. Don't get me wrong. I want to see him succeed. I'm happy to give him the rest of the season and then let him get the transfer window. And then I'll go to Christmas. And if it hasn't changed to Christmas, then review it. But I'm happy to give it that time. But like yesterday, he doesn't do himself any favors yesterday. He was saying about a free hit. We have a game Thursday night against Slavia Prague. Put in a performance, and then we'll move into Slavia Prague with a bit of positivity. That's only made things worse. That's actually the whole fan base is up in arms because of that yesterday. He's actually gone and somehow made a game he called a free hit worse than what it potentially could have been. I don't know. Slavia Prague must be licking their lips watching that and looking at the uproar, because I just didn't get it. I'm still. It's one of those defeats. It's kind of like those when you got beat 6-0 away to Chelsea, and that it's just one of those that will linger on till Thursday. I just didn't get any of it, to be honest. As Ryan said, we were kind of looking at 0-0. It was almost like we were waiting for Liverpool to score. And then, Liverpool won, that's it. The game is over. Look, we weren't expected to win. Liverpool won, that's it, game over. We made them look unreal. That looked like Liverpool that were playing last year for a team that are shaky. Look, they have a good record on the road, but they've only won ever twice before last night at the Emirates. So that shows you we generally do have a good record against them, but we made them look unbelievable. They've two kids centre-back who are shaky at the best of times. And as I said, they look like Vidic and Ferdinand. Milner was running around in midfield like a 26-year-old in his prime, running the show on midfield. He went in left back up against our record signing, and our record signing didn't have a kick of the ball.
Yeah, no, I mean, that kind of sums it all up, really, doesn't it? And, whether or not Arteta has decided that the focus should be on the Europa League, maybe so. But even so, that doesn't excuse, like you said, that's actually made the situation worse, because now we're going into that game. We've lost our last two games at the Emirates without scoring. Two very poor performances against Olympiacos and now Liverpool. And we're at home on Thursday as well. And we're going into that game rock bottom. And we're almost praying and hoping and praying that Saka and Smith Rowe are going to be fit. Because if they're not fit, either of them two aren't fit for that game, then it's going to be another very tough 90 minutes, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Oh, they'll put it up to us, Rich. They're not. Yeah. You've seen against Leicester, we've seen against Rangers. You are going to get nothing easy from those. They're good defensively. They'll catch you going forward. They have a young
No,
lad up front, Abdallah Sima. He's one to watch out for. Even I think for the future as well. He's a good player, and if you leave these fellas, if you give fellas in Europe time and space, they'll punish you.
yeah, no, exactly. He's going to be a tough game. We're going to have to be 100 times better on Thursday than we were the last 2 home games for certain. I mean, just before you go in, Dave, it would be your man of the match. Probably really difficult to pick one from that. Show, really.
I'm going to. I'll pick Martinelli because he actually sprinted when he came on. I know. I don't know. I don't know who else who could currently want who could currently want it. Yeah, I go with Martinelli because he actually sprinted.
Yeah, he did at least once. Yeah, I mean, he only got 10 minutes and he gets man of the match. It kind of sums up, I think, where that performance was yesterday. Actually, that's probably a fair comment on it, really. Just give your channel a little plug before you go as well, Dave, as well, because obviously you're doing some great stuff over there as well, aren't you?
Yeah, look, it's out now on our podcast on Twitter and the same on YouTube. I've kind of been bouncing around channels recently, so I haven't as much on the channel as I generally would, but I'd always be tweeting out on Twitter that. So if anyone even just to follow me on Twitter, I'm always happy to debate and get involved in whatever anyone might have to say. So, look, thanks again for having me on, Rich. I enjoyed coming on. I definitely needed the therapy anyway. So you can send me the bill after the show, and then I can. But yeah. But no, look, thanks again.
It's been a pleasure as always, Dave. Take it easy, and we'll speak again very soon. Thanks for coming on. Cheers. So that was Dave there from the Out and Out Gunners podcast. Don't forget to check him out on YouTube and on Twitter as well. And joining me now, we've got Gary from DWTT. How you doing, Gary? Have you recovered from that performance yesterday yet?
Yeah, I don't even know why I'm smiling, but yes, hello, thank you, welcome to the show. Thanks for inviting me. I don't even know why I'm smiling. I shouldn't be smiling, but I guess it's either that or we cry, right? We smile or we cry. We smile because I guess it's Easter. There's Easter eggs out there somewhere looking for us. So, but wow, happy Easter to everyone in the chats. Hope you guys are feeling well. Like I just said, I heard, as Dave said, it's therapy time, and I thought we had actually given up on that. Given up on having to have therapy every week, and Arsenal just found another way to, they keep surprising us. And I was listening to one of the pods yesterday, and he's like, "Why are we surprised? Why are we surprised?"
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be, because we've had enough experience in this type of performance. I mean, this was probably the worst of the lot, if we're totally honest. Although, having said that, Liverpool are a good side and they did play well. Although I thought we made it quite easy for them, if I'm totally honest, and that's the problem. At least compete with who you're playing against, no matter how good they are. At least give them something to think about, and that was probably the easiest game Liverpool have had probably all season, or well, maybe the 7-0 at Crystal Palace, perhaps, but that was probably alongside that one. I would have thought for how easy they found that game. Mark in the chat says, "Is there any update on the Tierney injury?" I haven't heard any update yet. Obviously, the last I heard was that there potentially could be quite bad on his knee, unfortunately, which isn't good. Terry says, out of the Arsenal squad, take out Saka, ESR, Martinelli, Gabriel, Partey and Tierney. Do you think any of our players would get in the top 4 club? We couldn't give the others away. No one wants them because they're just not good enough. So I don't know about any top 4 club, any Premier League club. Would they get in any Premier League club at the moment? I'm not sure if they would the others. I just don't think they could. But that doesn't excuse the effort they put in yesterday, or lack of effort. The Reverend there says, "I feel bad for you lot. Look so bad about Xhaka and Louise. Yeah, it's worrying when they are players that aren't levels either, and Arteta's tactics. If that's what he wanted to do, that was shocking." Yeah, I mean, it was. He came out and took responsibility, saying it was his fault. Well, he said that a few times. That's not really good enough anymore. Just saying it's your fault. Do something about it. Make changes. Do something different. And he didn't, and he wasn't able to. So, I mean, I know it's difficult to. So, what did you make of the lineup, actually, Gary? Before we start, so much more. What did you? I know we had a few injury issues and stuff, and there wasn't a lot of choice. But I mean, was there anything you would have thought we should have maybe picked differently in the starting lineup?
Based on Liverpool's form, I thought we would try to attack them and because I feel like that's the only way we're going to be able to beat them. We weren't going to be able to sit back and do what I think, because I don't think we're disciplined enough. We don't have the leadership to maintain whatever level of control that we need to be able to attack a team like they did. They basically sat back and took whatever we gave them, even though we didn't even try to attack them, it seemed. So it was kind of kind of two sides doing exactly the same thing, and they just were waiting. And that's the thing that scares me a little bit, is that teams can now just sit back and wait. I mean, and once again, this reminds me of when we had that 20-game winning streak or non-losing streak, and all of a sudden we started losing again. We started losing after that. It's because teams realize, you know what? They will actually hand you a present anytime, or give you openings every time, if you just wait. And I was hoping going into the game, I was hoping for like 60 minutes of us to come out there and try to basically blitz them and take the game away from them. We did nothing of the sort, right? And after about 60 minutes, what did they do? They brought on their reserves to get something out of the game. What do we do after 60 minutes? We put in El Neni.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't show the positivity that we need to actually get something out of the game, because that's not what he's for. We know what he's for.
No.
I mean, ultimately, the way we played in that first 60 minutes, he probably should have started if that's the way they were going to play. Ceballos isn't going to give you that, as far as not as many. He'll give you positives, but he'll give you some negatives as well. Whereas El Neni basically will give us, he'll just be even keel, and you know what you're going to get. The lineup. Looking at the lineup, I was Aubameyang on the left just does not do it anymore, and it should never be used again. It doesn't work. I don't understand. He doesn't play. He doesn't do what he needs to do out there. I mean, you talked about players that would be picked up by the top four. Guess what? Most players in the Premier League, they all do their work. They have assignments and they do them. If they don't, then they may get moved to a different position where they can, excel. I mean, if you set up your players to fail, guess what? They fail. And that's what happened. Aubameyang on the left is a player set up to fail. He doesn't, not in this scheme. Last year, it worked fine because we did things totally different. Today, this is not the same team. We've changed, this is, I mean, it's one on top of the other as far as things going on. We signed Aubameyang and then we changed the scheme on him. So now he doesn't fit in on the left anymore. He barely fits in at the top because there's different requirements of every role now. Everything's a little bit different. I think the only thing that really hasn't changed much is the goalkeeper. I mean, everything else requires a little bit more than it did the year before, because he's figured out what he wants to do. And when he has the players, they can do it. We realize now, I mean, it's sad to say, right? We realize now that Emile Smith-Rowe, Saka, Xhaka, and Luiz are key players into what he wants us to do. And Luiz being out now for a little while is going to hurt us. Xhaka coming back from whatever he's been out for, Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe coming back from what they're going to, they're not going to be ready to play a Prague team that is looking at, they see blood in the water. And we are definitely bleeding a little bit. And, if we don't watch ourselves, we're going to get embarrassed at home again.
No, I agree. It does worry me Thursday night now, I must admit. The Reverend again says, "Hello, Gary, your saviour Jacker will be back to save the day, don't worry."
Well, that's the thing. You know what? He's as much as I don't like him, it's more, I don't know if I just lost some of my, hopefully you can hear me, because my screen froze over here. Let's see.
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay, you can hear me fine. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm having some internet issues, I guess. But yeah, when I hear him talk, I'm like, yes. When I hear him talk, I'm like, yes. When he plays, he does create some stability in the middle there. Nowhere near what we need, right? It's not near what he can come on and do a job coming off the bench, but he can't every day and week out and week in give us what we need. That's true. But yeah, we definitely missed him. That's sad that it's sad, and it's he's not long term for Arsenal in the terms of, if we're talking about going into the Champions League and competing, he's not the player in the middle alongside Partey that's going to do it for us. Partey right now isn't the player that can do it all by himself and solidify the middle. So I don't know if that's just a health thing, mental thing. I feel like we're getting the worst of Partey right now, mentally and physically. So yeah, I mean, I heard Dave talking about, we just didn't have much going into Ødegaard. There was a couple passes that he made through the lines to Ødegaard, but they were so few and plenty that few far between, that we just never got the attack going. And when you see it, you're like, yes, that's it. And then you never saw it again. And it was like, this is painful to watch. This is painful to watch.
It was very painful. Yeah, I've got to be honest. It was extremely painful. Yeah. I mean, Shane in the chat there says, like I said, after West Ham, the players didn't know how to do what Arteta was asking them. He kind of alluded to that, didn't he? So he said, why does Arteta deserve the fan base to give him until next Christmas? What you see from Arteta, what do you see from Arteta that warrants that faith? Well, at the moment, I would say very, very little, if I'm totally honest.
Yeah.
Kai in the chat there says, a positive Arsenal channel. We have the work cut out today. Yes, indeed. It's difficult to be positive after what we saw yesterday. Kevin says, we're at least 4 to 5 years away from being a decent club. Not a team, a club. Team-wise, it could be longer. No investment or bad investment has halted us for a while now. Yes, totally right. And Kevin again says, our owner is only interested in Arsenal property that we own. The team is second. Even if it's second, I don't know if it's even that high, if I'm honest. But we'll see what happens over the summer, I suppose. And Terry says, I felt confident before I saw the lineup. A big hello to Gary. After seeing it, heart sank. They seem not to care. No heart or pride, and looked a beaten team before. Yeah, we did look a beaten team before the start. It was almost like we was trying to not lose by too many goals, which seems mad, really. And the Reverend Knight again says, you guys need a good CDM. Yes, that's true. That can pass. And indeed, or Fabinho, exactly. I mean, Fabinho was brilliant yesterday, wasn't he? And some workhorses that can pass, like Henderson and Rodri. Unfortunately, those sort of players are out of our range, I think. Your midfield needs big work. The Reverend again, yeah, it does. That's our biggest area of concern, and we saw that yesterday. Without Xhaka, I know not everybody's cup of tea, as you said yourself, Gary, but you can see how important he is to the team when he's not in it. And yes, I'm not saying he's the answer going forward. I think he does a great job in the team at the moment, and he has done for the last couple of years. And unless we've got somebody better to come in, which we haven't, because Ceballos came in, terrible performance yesterday. El Neni has come in and he's got different attributes to his game, which maybe aren't so good when we're looking at getting goals and attacking and going forward. So, yeah, it is a big problem. It is a big problem. And can we get in the type of midfield players that we need, those type of players there that were mentioned, Fabinho, Ndidi, Henderson, Rodri, them sort of players. We're not going to get in something like that, are we? I'll be amazed if we do this summer. As much as we need it, I don't think we can afford to bring someone in like that, can we? Are we going to have to try and find a young player from somewhere and develop them? But that's going to take time.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that we saw in the previous game, which I did like, is when Xhaka came out and Milsrith Rowe, I think, was it Milsrith Rowe that came in to replace him at one point, and we saw how that may work, right? So, and I think that just means that we have more offensive players in the midfield than we do, so it kind of switches things around a little bit as far as the formation. But the one thing I think that that Arteta's is hurting himself by is that he keeps players come and go. We know that when they come and go in and out of the lineup, you have to put them in positions to succeed. He didn't do that this weekend, right? These aren't the same. We know what I believe we know what our starting 11 is now. We were missing 4 of them basically in this game. Kieran Tierney should have rested. I mean, we saw the same thing with Saka when he went out for 3 games in a row, had a really good international break. I don't know if you were on that in the same thought process, but at that time it seemed like, you know what? He's a young player. He just had a really good spell out there on, with the England team. Let him rest when he comes back, because we don't. The one thing I say about the young players, we don't need them today. We don't. We need them 4 years from now, right? They need to be 4 years from now part of the Arsenal team that is part of this rebuild. So there's no reason not to rest him. Tierney probably was in that same situation. He needed to rest, and yeah, he got that. Probably wasn't an injury that would have happened anyways. But maybe he doesn't even get in that situation because he's healthy, right? So I think
Yeah.
now we've put him in a game where we, as a whole, we just did not have a plan to beat them. I mean, there wasn't. I mean, I don't think that first 60 minutes of the game, nothing that I saw would lead me to believe that we were going to win that game based on whatever the plan was. And like you said, if the players weren't, as as they said in the last game, the players weren't listening to Arteta, isn't that a sign of the team either down tool or just not, you lost the locker room? One of the two is happening, right? Because I don't believe he seemed surprised by it, upset by it, but it's all on him to get the players to actually perform to some degree. I mean, we've played City and Liverpool 4 times this season, and all of them we looked like a team that just had no chance to win either of those games, right?
Yeah.
Right. And we played every other team, and we looked like we had a chance to beat them. Those two teams, and I think the City game, the one thing that I feel is happens there, I think Pep likes Arteta, or else this is what I think we would have saw our same result if we had played them and they needed points or goals or whatnot. I feel like they're in a situation where they don't have to come out if you're going to give them the win, right? Especially early. I mean, I think Klopp's team has been struggling all season, and they needed a breakthrough game. The introduction of Jota definitely jolted them ahead and gave them what they wanted, and they didn't look back. I mean, I think we got lucky to only hold them to the 3 goals in that last 20 minutes of the game. They were on the front foot the whole time. It's scary, because we had no answer, and we don't have the leadership, and that's the key thing, right? We talk about a captain, but I think it's just leadership on the field, and Arteta can't figure out who that person is to kind of lead us through these hard times, right? I mean, when you're down a goal, okay, you're down 2 goals, okay, 3 goals, and they're still coming at you, and we've got nobody basically screaming at the players to wake them up. Look, this is one, the season's not over. 2, this game's not over. Let's get something out of it. And nothing. There was nothing there. It's hopefully Tierney does make it back for the Thursday game. I'll be concerned. I mean, I guess if we can go out, if we can hold on, and then he plays in the away leg healthy, and then we can get something out of that would be better than having him come out, push it a little bit more, and then we struggle, and then we have to go away. So I don't know. To me, that seems like the better thing, at least based on the injury. I mean, it didn't look like he was having too many issues, but it looked like he knew he was done for the game when he went down.
Yeah, no, he did. And let's hope it isn't as bad as it could be. And there's been a little bit of stuff in the chat about apparently Newcastle were beating Spurs briefly 1-0. Joe Linton had scored, but Spurs have equalised straight away. Harry Kane a free kick apparently. So
we can't depend on others to give us I mean, we had our chances. I mean, the Burnley game, the West Ham game, even this game, we had opportunities to basically help ourselves, and now then you know what, they can't lose enough games to make us jump them. We actually have to do some winning.
Don't we? That's the point. We do, and they can keep losing while we keep losing. It doesn't really help us at all. Anyway, just before we go, who'd been your man in the match yesterday? I know difficult to pick one from that absolute shambles, but if you had to pick one, who would you go for?
Wow, yeah. I did like the Martinelli because he did come in and show us something. I think Ødegaard, I think he's playing. He's surrounded by. Looks like Newcastle just scored again. If I'm reading this correctly,
really?
Is Newcastle on the road? I think they are, right?
Newcastle at home, aren't
Oh, they're home. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe they're not. Maybe yeah. Oh no, it's 2-1
it's
Spurs.
2-1 for Tottenham.
Yeah. So you know what? Teams aren't going to give us the break. I would go with Odegaard and definitely Martinelli. The youth are strong with us, and that is part of our problem. That they are the strongest, the cog on this wheel here we got going. The rest of the cogs just aren't there. They're not catching. They're not catching.
No, they're not. You're right. And I mean, it was difficult to pick anybody who stood out yesterday, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, guys.
All right, thank you.
Give your channel a little plug as well. DWTT.
All right, yeah. So DWTT is my channel. I'll probably have a My 5 coming out today. There's not even 5 players worth talking about, but we'll talk about 5 players and maybe even more because there is a lot to discuss. So I'll have that out sometime, hopefully later today. But thank you, Richard. Thank you, everybody in the chats, and we'll talk again later.
No problem at all. Take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll speak soon, Gary. Thanks for coming.
All right, you too. All right, thank you.
Yeah. So that was Gary there from DWTT. Make sure you check his channel out. And now joining me is, of course, our channel regular, Melvyn. Have you recovered from that yesterday, or are you still feeling a little bit sore, shall we say?
I'm still feeling sore. It's we take 1 step forward and 12 steps back. To me, it's not 1 and 2, is it? It's ridiculous. That is probably, I don't know if it's a knee-jerk reaction, Richard, or because it's the last game, but that was probably one of the worst performances I've seen this season on so many different counts. It's like they never knew each other as players.
Yeah.
There's no fight, no energy, no togetherness. It's as if they were like, we needed a draw at home to win the league. It was one of those, wasn't it? It was absolutely disgraceful. I don't think we got in their last third, did we, many times? I mean, even if you play a team in the FA Cup comes to the Emirates and they're in the whatever division they're in, 4 or 5 divisions below us, they will get into our third at some stage quite a few times. We never got near Liverpool yesterday. And Liverpool, really, though they're a good team, of course they are, but we allowed them to play with a handbrake off. We said, look, forget about everything. We know you've had a bad run. Enjoy yourselves. And that's what it was like for me yesterday.
I mean, you said there you think it's the worst performance this season. I would say it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen from an Arsenal team in 40 years. You know, you could probably list a handful of performances that were of a similar poor level in 40 years. That's how bad that was. It wasn't like, this season definitely was. I would say it's probably the worst one this season, but also beyond that as well for me. I can't think of too many off the top of my head that strike me as being worse than that at home, certainly. A few away games, maybe at some of the big teams over recent years, 6-0 defeats and what have you. But at home, it's very rare that we've played that badly. It was almost like we played like an away team, as though we were away at Anfield, which we've capitulated at Anfield several times in recent years. And that's what that was like, wasn't it? Literally from the first.
It was actually. It was like we were playing.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Richard. It was like we were playing. Each player had a white flag in their hands, waving it about. It was that bad. It was really that bad. I said for this season, I really meant a bit longer, but I didn't want to be too dramatic. Yeah, it probably is one of the worst I've seen at the this Emirates or at Highbury. But yeah, it was so bad. I mean, after about 15 minutes, I was thinking to myself, are we going to get started yet? Come on, something's got to change. Nothing did. We got it dead wrong. I mean, we had 2. I mean, they're very good in midfield. They're very good all over the park, aren't they? But we had 2 guys in midfield, right? We should have played 3 across the back in midfield rather, because they're very. If we stop their midfield, it stops their attack, and they were just playing it through us like we didn't exist. We didn't have a midfield yesterday. In all fairness, I know Partey did a couple of good things, but even he had his head down at the end of the game. He couldn't hit a 5-yard ball.
Yeah,
and I think that was a mistake. You know, why couldn't we have played 4-3-3? At least give, because let's face it, whether we played 5 up front, they weren't going to get the ball, or they weren't going to have a shot. However many we played, and it's the same mistakes all the time. Usual mistakes. You know, at one stage where their manager wake up and go, you know what? Perhaps Aubameyang isn't best on the left wing. Perhaps he wasn't built to be a left winger. I don't know. Perhaps and he doesn't do that. He keeps doing it every time, and it's shoehorning him in all the time. I mean, if you don't want him to play, if you want him to play down the middle, play him down the middle. And if Lacazette is better than him, play Lacazette. But don't play 2 of them because you can't decide who's better up front.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's poor management and poor leadership. Terry in the chat there says, "Hello, Melvyn." So he's obviously to see you. He said he's still got 1-1 to the Spurs game. Everyone else is saying it's 2-1 to Spurs. Not quite sure what's going on there. Shane says there, all players not on international duty should donate their last 2 weeks' wage to a charity. What do they do to prepare for Liverpool? Well, I don't know. Maybe Arteta needs to be the one that needs to look at himself, because he's the one who should be preparing the players properly and, you know, getting them ready and revved up for that game. And clearly he didn't, because we didn't look at any stage as though we had gone out there to win that game, did we? Not at any point. And for me, it was even more disappointing because of the whole Rocastle Rocky situation, you know, the anniversary and the programme and everything else. And we put in a performance like that. I mean, what's that showing? Do you know what I mean? No fight whatsoever. I mean, Rocky would have hated that performance, wouldn't he? Just the lack of fight. He just wouldn't. He would have hated that completely.
Like that expression, that game reminded me of so much of Rocky because it's so different. He would have played that game so differently to the 11 on the field, you know, and it makes you laugh really about, you know, they say you blame. Yeah, you can blame the manager. I do blame the manager because he's the guy that picks them, right? So, and if he has to get the players up for a game at home against Liverpool, then perhaps the players aren't right either. You know, and I thought you can't keep playing players to keep pushing them all the time. Wearing that red and white shirt, playing in the Premiership for Arsenal at the home ground against Liverpool, one of the greatest clubs, this country's ever seen, and you can't get up for that. Something's wrong somewhere. I'm sorry.
No, completely. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And yes, the players are clearly not the right players for Arsenal, are they? A lot of them players haven't got enough character to play for Arsenal and to represent Arsenal. And unfortunately, the embodiment of that is the captain. I don't think I've seen a player less interested in playing for Arsenal than Aubameyang. He's more interested in getting his hair done and driving about in his fancy cars than he is playing for Arsenal. And to me, that's not acceptable. And Arteta, as the manager, has got to come in and do something about that. It's no good. So I'm going to drop him for the Tottenham game because he was late. That's not enough. He's allowing Aubameyang to just stroll through his games, stroll through the games without a care in the world. He's supposed to be the captain. He should be there trying to lift everybody else. You're not having a good game yourself, fair enough. You can accept that. Not everyone has a good game all the time. But if you're the leader, the captain of that team, you've got to raise the people around you and get more out of them. And he doesn't do that. He just he disappeared in that game completely. In fact, almost forgot he was playing. And it's not acceptable, is it?
It's not acceptable. The only reason you know that Aubameyang is captain because he leads the team out and he calls the toss of the coin. Other than that, you would not know watching any Arsenal game who the Arsenal captain was, and that is not good enough. Not good enough at all. Absolutely disgraceful. And it just shows you where we are. We're at a very low ebb. You know, we might go out on Thursday and do this and do that, get through, and everyone's going, "Oh, it's all right again," papering over the cracks. When it comes to the big games, the very big games where we have to do something, especially in the league, where that's where you're tested in the league. All right, you might do well in Europe in the league we're in, but the league is what we've played in all those years and watched this team since we've both been supporting the club. You want to see us win league games because that's the bread and butter. That's where it tells you how good you really are. Like they say, the team at the top of the division is the best team in the league. End of. The team who wins the cup isn't necessarily the best team that wins in the cup competition. All right. And to see us just throw away league games like that, just not try it against teams that they didn't kick us off the park, Liverpool, like a lower team might do. They just outplayed us. And that's not good enough. That's not good enough at all. They had more heart than us. I mean, what were they playing for, Liverpool? Only pride. And we ain't got any of that. So that's why they beat us. That's one of the reasons anyway.
No, exactly. I mean, to be fair, I think, as I said earlier, the Chelsea result maybe Liverpool realised that they suddenly got a chance at the top four again if they start winning games, and maybe that extra gave them a little bit of extra motivation. But that should have had the same effect on us because we could have closed that gap on Liverpool, couldn't we, to 1 point? You know, and to go out there with that attitude, yes, that comes from the players, I agree, but the manager needs to instill more in them. And maybe, I don't know, I got a feeling yesterday that the players didn't believe in the system that they were being asked to play. And I don't think that's the first time that's happened. And to me, that comes from the manager. It's his system that he wants them to play. I mean, Terry has put a comment in just a little while ago saying Arteta wants us to play football like Barcelona with players that should be playing park football. And he said he apologises to park players. I mean, he's got a point. And I do feel maybe because he works at Manchester City all those years, that's where his style of football. That's what he wants to do, right? Which is fair enough. You know, it looks good for Manchester City, but he's got to understand and realise that our players aren't as good, and you've got to adapt and adjust your system to the players that you've got. And he's not done that. And we're still playing it out from the back with players that can't do it, giving the ball away, conceding goals. We did it again yesterday. And when's he going to learn? And when's he going to change things to suit the players that he's got? At the end of the day, he's going to have to get more out of the players that we've got, because we aren't going to spend millions and billions of pounds getting in 10 new players, are we? So he's got to start getting more out of what we've got. And that comes down to him. And I don't know if he's capable of doing that.
The thing is, when you talk about they don't believe the system, you don't think that may be the case. But one of the reasons as well, Richard, is we don't have to take the same 10 players on the park every week to get used to the system. So you've got 3 or 4 changes every week. How are you going to get a stabilised team to understand the system and play it that way? Once the top 11 have got it, then 1 or 2 can come in and understand what they've got to do. See, the thing is as well, he's been here, a year and a half? I don't think he knows his best 11, and that's frightening for a manager of Arsenal. I mean, just to be very critical of him, and I've never been this critical of him. I've always tried to back him. But I've just, before I was thinking, what are the attributes of Arteta that you believe he's got that proves that he's got what it takes to be an Arsenal manager? What's his attributes? I'm struggling.
Well, I'm really struggling. I mean, I said it before. I believe that he is a good coach, right? And I think he will prove himself over his career to be a really good coach. But there's a difference between being a good coach and a good manager. And I don't think Arteta's, at this moment in time, he isn't a good manager. And maybe he needs more experience of being a manager, and that's fair enough. But we're not in a position that we can say to Arteta, look, we'll give you 3 or 4 years to learn the job here as you're going along. And that's not going to work. I think what we need to do is we need to get someone in who understands management, who can get more out of what we've got, move the club forward, and hopefully then we can get somewhere. And Arteta can go away and maybe learn his trade somewhere else with less pressure. Terry says he's got good hair gel. Yes, no, he has got good hair gel. That's very true. But I'm not quite sure if that's necessarily quite enough. But but anyway, I suppose it's a start, isn't it? And at least it's a positive that we can find, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think he's, and it is obviously he hasn't got experience of being a manager. This is his first job, and I don't think that this is what we need at this time with the club in the position that he's in. I think we need someone with more experience who can turn things around and get us moving in the right direction. And then maybe, Arteta goes away. I'm not sure whether we would ever be able to bring him back in, but I think he's a coach, not a manager. And I think that's the problem that we've got. And he needs to be a manager, and he isn't. And
that's probably true, but we can't afford to have he's not 100% a great manager anyway, Richard. So we can't afford another 3 years of him. Listen, no manager should learn their trade under us. I'm sorry. We should be past that. A side he played for us, he's got his heart in the right place, probably gives 100%. But if he hasn't got it, and it's proven, in my opinion, that there's something lacking, whether it's a manager, coach, or a bit of both, I don't think we can continue the way we're going. Because what you'll do is you bring a few more players in for a lot of money, and you keep giving extension of contracts to these players that aren't good enough, and they're going to play for us. Not every week, they'll play for us, say 10 or 12 times a season, and all of a sudden you go, how come they're playing for us? What's all that about? They're not good enough. You've got to have 10 good players on that park playing decent football. You cannot afford to have 1 or 2 passengers every week on the park, and we have that. And why do we have that? One of the reasons is because the manager keeps giving people who ain't good enough chances. Either they keeps picking them when he shouldn't pick them, or he gives them extended contracts. It's like certain people, they buy a set of crockery and they use it for a few years. Then they, I must have a new set, and they won't throw the old set away. And you go to their kitchen, they've got millions of bits of crockery everywhere. What you're doing with that? You'll never use it, and that's what we seem to be doing. Just get rid of the crockery you're not going to use anymore. Don't keep washing the crockery you never use. Throw it out, and we don't seem to be doing that. It's so, you know what the only thing I've got, I think that's the positive. One of the positive things for this club. It may be because some of the first team aren't very good, but it seems we've got a few youngsters coming through that haven't quite got in, that haven't had the chance to get into the first team yet. They've been training with them, And I reckon in a year or two's time, if we get it right, we might have half a chance to be in a much better position than which we are now. Because I believe that players coming through the ranks get what it means to play for the Arsenal. They don't have to be told that when you play over Spurs or Liverpool or what have you, you've got to try. That's just a done deal. That's a stick on, right? It's frightening where we've got to say that, well, they weren't up for it. Perhaps the manager didn't get them going. No, these youngsters, it's standards are different. They understand the Arsenal standards. There's a lot of better footballers out there, but if they don't have the Arsenal standards or respect the club, then there's no point having them. We've had a few, and we've got a few perhaps now in the team as well. We thought we got rid of some deadwood. Perhaps we should have been a little bit more. Well, the manager should have been a bit more ruthless.
No, I totally agree. So Kevin's put a comment in the chat there saying, going forward, if Arteta is held back in transfer, why are we not blaming the owner who simply doesn't care about the football side of the club? I mean, to be fair though, Arteta's got a lot of the players that he's wanted since he's been at the club, hasn't he? He's been given Thomas Partey, he wanted him, he wanted Gabriel, he wanted Willian, for good or bad, and he wanted to get Cedric on a contract, he wanted to get Mari on a contract. So the owners have backed him to a certain degree, and he's kind of got the players that he's wanted, and yet the team has gone backwards. So that surely comes back onto the manager. If we're buying the players he wants and they're not better than, or they're not as good as what we need, then that's the manager's fault, isn't it? So I think the owners are not blameless either. Of course not. They've contributed to the position that we're in, but I don't think you can completely disregard Arteta's role in that, because he has got the players he wanted, and the squad's had a big overhaul, actually, hasn't it? You look at the squad that Unai Emery inherited to the squad that we've got now, it's almost completely different, isn't it? There's been a lot of movement in clubs in and out, and obviously he's been backed by the owners to be able to do that. And yet here we are, actually in a worse position in terms of where we are, the football we're playing, where we are in the league, and everything else, and we've gone backwards. And if this is the players that Arteta wants, and this is how he sees the vision of the club, then clearly he's wrong. And that comes in.
Not only did he get the players he wanted, Richard, he's got a couple of gems that he didn't even know he had. Yeah. Like Smith Rowe. Yeah. I mean, that is a Brucey bonus, isn't it? Smith Rowe. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, that is fantastic. And that is an add-on. So he's got the players he wants, plus he's got a Brucey bonus, and he still can't get us improving. That's very worrying. And with the owners, we can all have a dig at the owners, and at the end of the day, we can't do anything about it anyway. But they did make money available for Partey, for Xhaka, whatever you think about him, for Mustafi, for giving these contracts to Ozil. So it's not the owner's fault for not the money, it's the owner's fault for the people they've employed to make these decisions. Because these decisions are Isthmian League decisions. They're not Premier League decisions. They're not business decisions. Clueless in Seattle who made those decisions.
No, that's a good point. That Kevin says, okay, then who should manage us? I mean, I think there's a lot of options. Rafa Benitez springs up for me, experienced manager. I'm sure he would get this group of players playing a lot better and getting better results. I would make him first choice. There's several other options, I guess, if you look around enough. I think plenty of. I would even take the guy from Brighton, because he seems to have his head screwed on. He's got a plan, a system, and they've been a bit unfortunate. If they could score goals, they'd be above us in the league, probably Brighton. So I think there's options out there. People that's got experience of management have proved themselves. Maybe there's Allegri as well, who hasn't been in job for a while. Would he want to come and take on a job like this and turn things around? I don't know. It's a possibility. I think we can't just say there's no one out there. Shane says he's never seen Saliba play, but he has to be better than Holding. Well, I think that's pretty much guaranteed. He said Guendouzi and Torreira must be better than Ceballos. To be honest, anybody's better than Ceballos. Torreira doesn't want to play for Arsenal, but Guendouzi, yes, I would definitely look at getting Guendouzi back. Looking at our midfield state at the moment, but again, he's fell out of Arteta, hasn't he? So what chance have we got of that working? I'm not sure really, but we'll have to see how that plays out maybe at the end of the season when the loan's up, and see where we go with that. But there's massive problems, and I don't think we can dismiss Arteta's role in it at all. I think he's one of the big problems about it all, really. But and I think yesterday kind of summed it up really. Who would be your man in the match then, Melvyn, from yesterday? Very difficult to pick one, isn't it?
I was going to give Ryan the man in the match. The goalkeeper never come on. I couldn't think of anyone else. But I suppose, in all fairness, I like the way he played Odegaard. I thought he was okay. He had no support at all, because there was no one in that channel with him. So he did try his best. he did so much running yesterday, and without trying to chase them down, trying to get the ball, and he had no one to play with. I thought it was a bit disheartening for him yesterday. I felt sorry for him yesterday.
Yeah, no,
I'm not saying he was perfect, but he was giving it all. At least he was looking for things to happen. So I'm going to give it to him.
No, that's a fair goal. I actually felt a bit sorry for him because he had no runners off him, did he, to pin his balls through, and he must have got really frustrated. But like you said, he kept going, didn't he? He kept trying, and it just wasn't his day. But yeah, I would say that's probably a good shout. Just quickly before you go, where can people find you on social media? I know you're obviously on this channel quite a lot. Usually.
On this channel, yeah. I'm welded to it at the moment, which is lovely. Love being on it. I'm on Mr. Ryan Arsenal, Mr. Arsenal 89. I'm also on from Dull Square to Where. They're the three that I'm mainly on your one and also on the other two sometimes. So thanks again. Glad to get it off my chest.
Good.
I don't have to pick the dog now, so that's all right.
Yeah. No, good. You need a bit of therapy sometimes after a poor game. It's good to get it out of the way, and hopefully Thursday will be a bit better, and we can be a little bit more optimistic after that game. But I'm not optimistic about that at this moment in time. I've got to be honest, but we'll see. It's another day, another game, and we can't be as bad again, surely. But
thanks, Terry. Happy Easter to you as well, and all the other people watching. Happy Easter.
Yeah, so it's happy Easter, Melvyn. Yeah, happy Easter to everybody else as well. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for coming on, Melvyn, as well. So we'll speak again soon. It's been a pleasure as always.
Speak to you soon. All the best.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Cheers.
See you later. So that was Melvyn there, of course, a regular on the channel, and another one who's become a regular, actually, Anthony from the Public of Arsenal podcast. Good to have you back on, Anthony, as well. Have you recovered from that yesterday, or are you still feeling very frustrated and angry?
Yeah, hey Rich, good to be back. Happy Easter to you, and happy Easter to everybody watching. I'm suffering a bit of an Arsenal hangover here today. I'm not blaming the Guinness. It's completely Arsenal fault. But yeah, it's a really strange feeling. No anger, nothing like that. It's pure deflation, like really deflated feeling. I actually, even watching that game yesterday, at no point was I actually angry. I actually felt myself deflated, disinterested. I felt how it seemed the players were on the pitch. I think the energy or lack of energy carried through the TV to me on the couch, and I sat there and I said, you know what? I can actually feel that these guys don't want to be here as much as I don't want to be here watching this right now. And it was a really strange feeling. Like I said, like, if your team goes out and they get played off the park and you lose 3-0, like, you should be angry about it, and the players, you should sense, the pride and the anger in them, that they're being outplayed. But yeah, it's like it was a really low mood. It was a very strange game. I felt as though I was watching a pre-season friendly. It really, to me, felt as though the Arsenal players, and even Liverpool, in fairness, in the first half, it was as dead a game as I have seen in a long time. And I'll be fair to Liverpool, they weren't amazing in the first half by any means, but I sort of felt that they sensed they didn't need to be, because I think they knew. I think they looked at Arsenal and said, you know what, we have a couple of players we're out on international duty, and we'll stretch the legs for the first 45 minutes, and we'll get these guys in the second half. And I actually remember I said it to the missus. We were sitting there, and I said, you know what, they have a player that they'll bring on the second half called Jota, and that guy's going to come on. He's going to change this game, and it's going to be game over. And of course, he came on, and he did, but it just felt like, talk about a team being in first gear. Liverpool did not need to overexert themselves. And I think the reason why, as I said, I'm not angry. It's really frustrating, because I didn't feel as though, looking at that Liverpool team, I didn't feel as though they were 3 goals better than us. I just feel like we never even attempted to give them a game. We didn't lay a glove. what did we have? Was it 2 shots on goal all game? If you'd even really count Pepe's header as a shot. But it was a pure sense of, yeah, Liverpool, no. It felt to me as a pre-season friendly, a Premier League team, we'll have a bit of a kickabout against a League One side. And that was just, it was so disheartening. It really, really was. As I said, I can't even be angry. I'm literally just completely flat today, completely.
I mean, that in a way, that's probably worse, isn't it? Because that almost shows a disinterest in a way. If you're angry, it means that it's really affected you. I mean, I was angry after the game and last night and watching Match of the Day and seeing it again. And I've watched a few bits and pieces this morning, and it's like, I'm still angry about how much, the lack of pride that we showed in wearing an Arsenal shirt. And that's what, I don't care necessarily if players are good or bad. At the end of the day, not everybody's going to be a fantastic player. We can't afford Ronaldos and people like that in this world. So we have to make do with what we've got. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Over the years, we've had players like that. But when they're on that pitch wearing an Arsenal shirt, they should at least play with pride. And they should at least play with, especially yesterday when it was the Rocastle day, the Rocky day, if you like. Yeah. And they should have at least showed some heart. And if we lose, we lose, but lose in the right way. Don't lose like that, because that's not, for me, for Arsenal, that's not acceptable. We're not a small club. We shouldn't go into games with a mindset of a team, well, let's just try not to lose by too many goals. We should go out and try to win every game. And if we get beaten by a better team, you hold your hands up. They weren't a better team, but that's not really the point. The point is we didn't go in with the right attitude at all. And that's what angered me with that game yesterday, and I don't really know where we go from here, because I think Arteta is the person who's getting the team organised. He's sending them out onto the pitch, and if we go out with that attitude, that comes from the manager. Whether the players naturally have that or not, the manager's got to give them more before they go out. He's got to insist on it, and if they're not doing it, he's got to. I mean, how did Ceballos last until the 60th minute or whatever it was? I would have took him off after about 20 minutes. I just took him off. Sorry, mate, you're not good enough. You're not doing the. I'd have took Arteta and Aubameyang off. Sorry, long before he took him off as well. I'd have took him off at half time possibly. I know maybe the Tierney injury had an effect on substitutions, because suddenly he had to make a substitution that he wasn't expecting to have to make. So that was one sub down. But even so, I'd still have looked at it at half time, got Aubameyang off, maybe got Martinelli on, and said, we need to do more. We've got to. And I don't know. I think Arteta got everything wrong yesterday, and it's not the first time. He's not learning, is he? Or am I being too harsh on him? He's quite inexperienced, but for me, he's not learning, is he? Not quickly enough.
Yeah, and like listening to Melvyn beforehand, sort of saying, look, this isn't the club that you throw an apprentice into a job to learn his trade. It's too big a job. It's too big a club, too big a fan base. We've been struggling for too many years to now be sort of going down this route. I can see the kind of thinking behind it. The new upcoming coach that everyone is talking about, and that's fair enough. Like, that guy is great, but you've still got to let him cut his teeth elsewhere for a couple of seasons and really see how he gets on. Because as you said, Richard, he's probably a very, very good coach, and he's probably the ideal guy to have on the training pitch, giving guys instructions and that. But you can definitely see his decision making needs a hell of a lot of work. His man management needs an awful lot of work. And it is going to take time. It is. The problem is, how much more time can we give? And anyone who knows me and has listened to bits and pieces I've said before, I've been very supportive of the manager and an advocate for, look, you have to give him time, because I do still fully believe, no matter who is in this job currently, we're not going to get the results we want. Now, I'm not saying a new man wouldn't give us an extra 10 or 20%. If we finish 10th this season, and maybe if you had put an Ancelotti in, he might have finished 7th. It is better. But I still just don't think with the current group, I think yesterday was proof. Yes, he got his selection wrong, but from what he had to select from, those guys should be fired up. You've got guys who are they should be looking at that and saying, okay, look, we have no Xhaka, we've no Smith Rowe, we've no David Luiz, we've no Bukayo Saka. There's 4 key players missing from that lineup. This is an opportunity for me to show the manager what I'm about and show him how badly I want to be in this team. And none of those players yesterday. I know you're going to ask me for a man of the match, but to be completely honest, I don't know who. I'd be pure giving a man of the match to someone just for the sake of it. Like, I don't think there's one player on that pitch that should be walking off thinking, I gave it my all today. And I know people are going to say, well, look, Odegaard did what he could, and fair enough, yeah. It just wasn't good enough. As a whole, it wasn't good enough. I didn't feel anybody wanted it badly enough. Nobody did, and this is the problem with the lack of squad depth that we have. I think, again, people we're forever hearing, Arsenal are maybe 2 or 3 additions off really competing. I think our starting 11 is probably 2 or 3 additions off being up there, in the mix. But the problem is our squad, I think, is about 8 additions off, because look at our team. It's all well and good having a great starting 11, but you're not going to keep that same starting 11 fit for 38 games. We do not have the depth in the squad, and it was shocking to think how badly we missed a 33-year-old David Luiz, and how badly we missed a Granit Xhaka, who, personally, I think Granit Xhaka gets too much stick. And I think yesterday, might have been an eye-opener for a lot of people, because I've seen people say, get Xhaka out and have Dani Ceballos and any play. They're not good enough. As much as people don't rate Granit Xhaka, the alternatives are 10 times worse. They really, really are. They're shocking. Yeah. And I do agree, look, we need an upgrade on Xhaka, but this argument of take him out of the team and put these guys in, like, you got Dani Ceballos yesterday. No, we can't. We cannot have Dani Ceballos. And El Neni is a 10 or 15 minute player that you bring on to hold the game when you're in front. Look, they're not good enough. It's also shocking that, as good as the 2 youngsters are, Saka and Smith Rowe, a club of our size cannot be dependent on 19-year-olds. We can't. We cannot be so dependent. So, yeah, the squad depth, I knew it was an issue, but it really, really reared its head yesterday for me. Like 4 players out that, yeah, like I said, 2 of them are kids. One of them, most people didn't want us to re-sign for the season, and most people still don't want him to sign off for next season. And then the other is a complete controversial figure who half the fan base would never have an Arsenal shirt again. But we've seen how badly we miss these guys, and it's, mind-boggling. But yeah, some of the decisions that he made as well. Like, I've said this for the longest time, Gabriel and Holding don't work. They just do not work. You cannot combine them. I don't know whether it's still a language barrier or lack of understanding. With Gabriel, I still don't know what his understanding is of the language. He seems to perform well with David Luiz. So to me, it feels like it's a bit of a communication issue there. Rob Holding seems to work quite well with Pablo Mari. So I think if you're going to play one, you have to play the other. And I know we want stability and consistency, but yeah, that partnership for me, it doesn't work. And it's not going to work, not this season anyway. I think that one needs to be scrapped straight away. I think Holding and Gabriel are 2 guys that benefit from having an experienced head. I think this is where David Luiz slots in beside Gabriel, because he's, whatever you feel about him, he's helpful for a guy like that. And I think Pablo Mari is probably that guy for Rob Holding as well. So I think, yeah, look, that partnership has to be scrapped. And Aubameyang and Lacazette, again, for whatever reason, the chemistry those 2 guys have off the pitch cannot be transmitted onto the pitch. It just hasn't worked. It's still not working. It's never going to work. It has to stop. Aubameyang, look, straight up, should never have been on that pitch yesterday. And a lot of people said this. A lot of people said this beforehand. He shouldn't be there. He really, really shouldn't. And look, he could start against Slavia Prague and go score a hat-trick, and it still won't change my feeling. He just still shouldn't be there. And I love the guy. I absolutely love the guy. I love his character, his persona off the pitch. I cannot stand his character on the pitch. What I'm seeing this season, I love I love happy, smiling Aubameyang who's scoring goals.
Yeah.
This Aubameyang who's moping around the pitch, who doesn't want to get stuck in. Yeah. We talked loads and loads and loads on different podcasts about, the Aubameyang situation. And first half of the season, I was saying nothing but, I don't believe Aubameyang is this, and I don't believe he's taking the money, and I don't believe his head is gone. I'm completely changing now. I've completely flipped my view on Aubameyang, and I'm starting to believe that Aubameyang never wanted to sign that contract. And I'm starting to think Aubameyang wanted to leave, and the reason why he delayed signing the deal was because he wanted to see what interest came in. The interest never came in from Barcelona or Real Madrid or wherever he wanted to go. And I'm starting to think he begrudgingly re-signed with us just for the money and because the interest wasn't there. And I think now we're starting to see that on the pitch. I don't think he wants to be there. I think he wanted to be gone.
Yeah.
And I think he expected to be gone. Yeah.
Looking at the way his whole body language this season in particular kind of would suggest that could well be the case. And I mean, the fact that he seems to spend more time, I say, on stupid haircuts and driving about in his flashy cars and this, that, and the other, turning up late for matches as though he doesn't care, is not acceptable. I would have took the captaincy off him after that Tottenham game, and I'd have dropped him from the team indefinitely, and he wouldn't be playing for me. We've had quite a lot of comments coming in, actually. Down from the cricket field end, Burnley fan, he said, "Hi guys, hope you're well. Obviously, Richie wanted top 4. Do you think top 6 is still doable? Will you be happy now if our top half finish?" I won't be happy with anything less than top 4 because that's where we should be as a club. So top 6, no, I don't think it is doable now. I think yesterday showed that. I think we're going to be lucky to finish in the top half of the league. And it's not acceptable, I'm afraid. It isn't for Arsenal. It's not acceptable with the players that we've got, with the squad of players, that the group that we've got. Yes, there's some players aren't good enough. We know that, but we've got a better squad, I believe, now than we had when Unai Emery took over. And look at where we are in the league. It isn't acceptable. Shane says, "Yeah, Anthony, he was off the drink for Lent. May have a few Guinnesses or something stronger to try and forget Liverpool game." Yeah. Honestly, he said, "Anthony, honestly, is Arteta good enough to take us forward?" I don't believe he is. I don't know what you think. Do you think he is, or do you think we maybe? I don't know.
Like I've said, I think it's an impossible task for anybody at the moment with the tools at your disposal. It depends, I guess, what if we want top 4 and we're gonna continue operating the way we've been operating, the way our ownership has been. As I said, with the tools put in place, the guys behind the scenes, Edu and other guys, Vinay, inexperienced guys in their roles. If we're going to keep that same setup, put anyone you want in that job, and like I said, you might improve 10, 20%. You might improve 1 or 2 positions. We're not going to compete for the league. We're not going to compete for top 4. I don't care who's in that job at the moment. And again, as much as I can see where Arteta is getting things wrong, I was fully accepting of the fact that it is going to be this way because, like, let's be fair, we've got an apprentice carpenter come in and you're expecting them to build a house. It doesn't work. It can't work. And then you're handing them a chisel to do it. You know what I mean? If you want a guy with that kind of inexperience to take on such a big job, you've got to give him a budget and you've got to give him guidance. You've got to have people in the background. Like, this is where, okay, we're talking about bringing in a guy like Overmars. He should have been in there before an apprentice took the job. Like, we're after giving a full management position to a guy who's only ever coached on the training ground. And who have we given him to help him? Edu, who's done a little bit of work. He's had maybe a year or 2 in a role previous, working with like the Brazilian national side, and I think Corinthians and that. Never done this job within Europe. You've got Vinay in there now, who's taken over Raul Sanyehi's job, and Vinay had never done anything like this before. So we've a bunch of apprentices, essentially a bunch of apprentice tradesmen in there, trying to build a house, and they've got no blueprint, they've got no instruction, and then you have an owner who doesn't care enough to put these kind of building blocks there for the guys. it'd be like me again. I've absolutely no trade in that, and then someone saying to me in the morning, where you hear you're responsible to guide, these apprentices to build the house that you want to build, and I go, I've never done it before, and to be honest, I don't really care as long as it's livable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's all it is, I think, for Kroenke. As long as there's still money coming in, and it's an adequate amount that's going to keep funding his NFL venture, I think this is how it's going to be. Let's be fair. Look, if he really cared, you're not going to leave. I mean, if you really value the asset that is Arsenal Football Club and you have any pride and passion, you don't leave it to be run by, a bunch of guys who have never run anything before. You should have more pride in yourself and your possession to want to operate in the best that it can be. Because, look, I don't follow the NFL, but I know Kroenke's team got to the Super Bowl there recently. I'm sure he didn't put the equivalent of a Mikel Arteta in charge of, his team that went all the way to the Super Bowl. So obviously he understands what it takes, and he knows the kind of guys you've got to have in there. But the difference is he gives a shit about one, and he doesn't really care about the other. So this is why I think you're saying. And to be fair, like, does he know what does he know about football or soccer? This is just a pure, as I said, money-making venture for him. And unfortunately, the only way it's ever going to change is when he stops making money. The only way he's going to stop making money is for us to consistently not get European football. So it's a catch-22. If we do want change, maybe we just keep going the way we're going, and we might eventually get that change. The problem is, we keep going the way we're going, the damage may be irreversible. So
that's the problem.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's almost a catch-22, isn't it? In certain ways, because if we have success, the owners are going to stay. If we don't have success, then it might be too late by the time the change is made, and we'll never make that gap up that we've, unfortunately, we've already dropped so far behind where we all want us to be. I totally agree with all of that, really, and it is. We're in a mess, I think, from top to bottom, unfortunately. And like you said, we've got too many people that don't have the experience in the job. Look what Chelsea did. They, at least Lampard had a management job before at Derby. Not he didn't have much experience, but at least he had some experience. They put him into Chelsea. He wasn't working. Get rid of him. Get someone in who's more experienced and knows what they're doing. And you can see that, yes, they lost yesterday, but there were a few circumstances there. But that's the first defeat they've had under the new manager. They don't concede many goals usually, and you can see the difference that's made with the same players that Lampard was underperforming with. And, the same could happen with us. We could get a more experienced manager in, and suddenly we'd see different performances in a lot of these players that we've written off. At the end of the day, they've got to be good players to be, they're top professional players, aren't they? They're not, we look at them and think they're not good enough, and they're maybe not good enough at the moment, but under a different manager, maybe they might be, who knows?
If you have a more experienced guy, that might be able to get something out of them, that has that experience of, like I said, it has the bit of man management and might be able to, like I said, get the extra 10% or whatever. But like even Pep Guardiola, before he got the Barca job, he was the B team manager. Like, why couldn't we have even said to Arteta, look, come in for a season or so, even manage the under-23s? It's more than what he had at Man City. Like, it's still not much, but it's something. And you have day-to-day working with these guys and having to make in-game decisions. And it's just the whole thing is just an absolute shambles. And like I said, I'm quite deflated, more so than angry, because I sort of half expected this. Like, I had this acceptance from the beginning. I thought Arteta's appointment was a bad idea. I really did. I thought when he first been linked to the job and Unai Emery got the job, I was relieved, because I sort of said, I don't think this is a great idea. And Unai Emery got the job, and of course I looked at his CV and I said, well, look, this is a guy you bring in to steady a ship, because Arsene Wenger was there an awful long time. So look, he had a track record. He'd been to various different clubs and countries, and he'd had European success and that. So I thought, look, this would be a guy to steady the ship. Now, he did to an extent. like that. He got us 5th in his first season. It went a bit off the rails then the second season. And again, I attributed a lot of that down to still that same core of players. And as I sort of went back to with the management, even Unai Emery, he never got the players he wanted. You know, he wanted a guy like Nzonzi, and he was told, no, you're getting Lucas Torreira because he's younger and a higher potential sale. You know, he's getting a Guendouzi, he got Martinelli, and like as good as these guys look, these aren't the targets he wanted. He wanted Zaha and he got Pepe because, again, it's all about making money. And we weren't looking at, you know, what was best for the club. And even with Arteta, I know people have said, well, look, he's got the players he wanted. I think, honestly, I don't think a lot of those players were what Arteta initially wanted. I think it was more so what was kind of easy available, because we had Raul Sanyehi there, and I think it was a case of, look, you had Raul and you had Edu. And I think even Edu, he had to do something, and he had to bring players in and show, look, this is my role here now. This is what I'm going to do. And I think some of those additions were easy additions. And I think on paper, they were supposed to be safe. Like, I think the addition of a Willian was supposed to be a safe addition. You know, we pick him up on a free. He's Premier League proven. He's been at Chelsea for 7 seasons. He has no, adaptation time. He's used to London. He's used to England. He speaks the language. He's got his friends at the club. He's got David Luiz. You know, he's had success. He's been an international. On paper, that should have been a clever addition. I think the problem was we caught a player at the end of sort of his tenure when he sort of said, look, yeah, I think the player had different ideas, that he sort of said, this is a cushy move for me because maybe they're not expecting much from me. So I think there's a couple of signings like that. Even Pablo Mari, I think Edu had a big part to play in that. And I like Pablo Mari. I think he has good potential, but I think Edu knew the Brazilian league. You know, he was scouting the Brazilian league the whole time. So he obviously said, this guy is one of the best centre halves. And again, he's available. And I think a lot of the problem was their recruitment over the last kind of season or so. It's been more, instead of what's needed, I think we've gone for what's been available. And, you know, Sanyehi is black book. So I'm hoping going forward, it's going to be totally different. And this is where I think we should have had someone in the background that was going to, you know, do the groundwork for Arteta. Because again, look, Arteta, as I said, he may have wanted these guys, but at the same time, he may be told, look, this is how it works. You know, he'd never managed before. He has guys like Sanyehi and Edu turn around and say, look, these guys are available. This is the budget we have to work with. If you don't take this guy, there's a chance we're not going to get anyone else. And maybe he just said, look, okay, you can sort them out. I understand I need a bit of depth in the squad. And they haven't worked out. So hopefully going forward, he has a bit more of a say. But at the same time, you can give him all the say he wants. He still needs a bit of guidance as well, because look, he's never really delved into the transfer market, and he's not experienced enough to have worked with guys. You know, like the way Arsene Wenger used to get to know a player's personality. You know, he knew the sort of persona of the player before they even arrived at the club, and he knew, you know, if this guy is going to be able to fit into my system and my mindset and my way of thinking. And you can see some of the players that have arrived at Arsenal the last couple of years, like Guendouzi, looks to have all the talent in the world, but has a terrible attitude. Lucas Torreira had a lot of talent, couldn't adapt, you know, and now, look, unfortunately, the passing of his mother-in-law has made it a lot more difficult, and I cannot see him playing for us again. No. So yeah, look, we've got to, I guess, restructure our thinking in the transfer market and what we're looking at, like not just in terms of talent, in terms of, you know, the whole attitude, mentality of players. Like we need guys. I've seen people as well. I totally understand the argument. If you don't get Europe, you're not going to attract top targets. But I think if you're smart about it, they don't necessarily have to be playing for big sides to be a successful signing. I mean, if you look at Aston Villa, you know, they were clever. They took Emi Martinez from us, who was about to be sat back on the bench again, you know. So that was a clever addition. You know, they've signed Matty Cash from Nottingham Forest. He looks a very good player. You know, they've a few players like that. Ollie Watkins. Now, these weren't huge names, clever signings. None of these guys had European football. And look at the improvement they've made. Now, next season, if they do it again and they add a little bit more, you know, Villa could be pushing for European places. So we need to, I think, as well as a fan base, we need to be a little less snobby when it comes to certain names and just accept that. Like, how many people would have written Kieran Tierney off because he came from the SPL? You know, Liverpool, prime example. How many Arsenal fans would have been happy about Arsenal going in, you know, spending what, 6 or 8 million on a player from Hull, Andy Robertson, at the time? Like, we need to stop looking at, you know, everything that plays for, you know, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona is what we need. We've got to start thinking outside the box a little bit, and like, we can't spend 60, 70 million on every single player. We have to be a bit more clever. But yeah, there's a lot of work there, Richard. An awful lot of work needs to be done.
No, there is, and unfortunately, it's going to take a lot of time, I guess. But let's hope that Thursday brings us a little bit more optimism, maybe, or positivity, because we certainly need some. The last few performances overall haven't been great. We've conceded 6 goals in the last 2 Premier League games as well. So much for the defensive stability that we apparently had improved on. So lots of work to do, as you said, and let's hope that we can start on Thursday, because keeping our Europa League dream alive is going to help matters a lot, isn't it? And it could end up getting us in the Champions League, which will make a massive impact on the budget over the summer, wouldn't it, as well? So we need to think about that. Thanks for coming on, Ed. It's been an absolute pleasure. You know, you talk a lot of sense, and it's great to have you on. Just give your channel a little plug as well before you go, because I know you're doing some great shows on there. Actually, I've been watching quite a lot of it lately. Some good stuff going on.
Yeah, look, thanks as always. I really appreciate it. I love coming on. And to be honest, I have to say big thanks to you as well. You've made me feel so much better about that game. Like I said, I was flat and deflated, and even thinking about coming on, I love coming on, but that game, I just said, you know what, I don't even want to talk about it. But now I actually rambled on a hell of a lot more than I was expecting, because I thought, oh, this is going to be hard to talk about. But I feel better now. I've kind of got it off my chest, so now I feel a hell of a lot better. So thanks for having me. But my channel, you can see the Twitter handle down below. It's Rep of Arsenal. The channel is Republic of Arsenal. As you said, we've had a couple of good shows lately. It's been kind of chaotic. I might have to rein it in a little bit. We've had a few kind of excessively big panels, but getting plenty of different kind of sides of, you know, how people are feeling about the club and Arteta, especially, because I noticed for a while a lot of us were very much in agreement on certain things. So it's nice, you know yourself, as the longer you do this, you get to know different people and, you know, different mindsets. So it's great. We're definitely adding a little bit more. It's a lot more controversial, of course. There's a lot more debate, and like last night, for example, like it got heated. It was respectfully heated debate, though. You know, everyone was mature enough and like cool enough that it didn't get out of control. Everyone was able to say their point, and there's no animosity. But it has to be said as well, you know, as much as we all have certain views, you have to hear the other side at the same time. You know, it's healthy. It's healthy debate. But yeah, look, I'm sorry for rambling on. As I said, I wasn't expecting too much, but as I said, look, as always, I really do appreciate. I really appreciate the time.
No, it's been a pleasure as always. I say, make sure you check out his channel as well, the Republic of Arsenal, for some great stuff that's going on over there. Enjoy the rest of your Easter, Anthony, and hopefully Thursday will be a little bit more enjoyable to watch, and we'll speak again very soon, no doubt.
Yep. Cheers, Rich.
Thanks a lot, mate. I'll speak to you soon. Take it easy.
Yeah.
So that was Anthony there from the Republic of Arsenal podcast. We are running it a bit late, so what we're going to do is now I'm going to give you a special treat. We're going to have 2 Ryans for the price of 1. And there we go. Hey. You've been waiting patiently in the background. We are overrunning slightly today. There's been obviously a lot of people wanting to get a lot of things off their chest, which is understandable after yesterday's kind of debacle, really. It's good to obviously have you 2 guys on. I know you've obviously heard a little bits and pieces of what's been going on what are kind of, first we'll come to you, Ryan Wills first. What are your kind of thoughts on the game yesterday and the performance and all that kind of thing? Because it was, I thought it was pretty awful actually.
Put it to you like this, like I said in my video, it felt like a training ground exercise for Liverpool. Literally, we were the mannequins out there. You know the little mannequins they put in the ground where they take free kicks. Yeah, literally awful. I mean, to be honest, it just said to me again how we're so inconsistent, you know. And I know a lot of us started to think when we saw our run of games, we thought this game's going to be tricky, you know. But with the draw with West Ham, which I wasn't exactly happy about because of the way we went 3 goals down, and the way we were able to come back and we didn't nick the 3 points. And then you got Liverpool next, and they've been inconsistent this season, but the quality is still good. And you look at us and you just think we've been so up and down this season. It's just like we cannot afford to lose this if we got any hope of trying to get into European places. Because again, I don't want to put all my eggs in the Europa League basket, but it seems like I'm having to be forced now because of that.
No, exactly. That's the situation that we're in. I mean, we come to the other Ryan, obviously Mr. Arsenal Ryan. Do you think that, I know that obviously we had 4 big players missing yesterday, 4 players that have made a big difference when they play. I mean, I don't want to blame that, but that must have had an impact though on the performance, mustn't it? Surely.
But it seems like it, but also it's just, even when them players are out, it's the other players that played, like Aubameyang again, like I said about the West Ham game, I was doing the stream for that back a couple of weeks ago, and I did it again last night. It just seems like if he wants to play suddenly, since the Tottenham game, he wants to shoehorn him in to appease him now, to keep him happy, because if he doesn't, he'll kick off and do what he did at Dortmund and things like that. And this is a guy who was dropped for that North London derby and had to sit on the bench and suck it up, basically. And suddenly he's now shoehorned in, even if Arteta prefers Lacazette up front, whereas before it was either one or the other, and that's costing us as well.
Yeah.
And you can see again, like Anthony and the guys have said, he doesn't want to be here. You can literally tell him, but he has no interest.
No.
He was meant to come back after that first international game. The only game he was meant to play. He was meant to come back because of the quarantine and all that. Instead, he's done that and he spent time over there with his friends and family, had a hairdo and posed on Instagram and doing all that, and then going, well, hey. Turns back up 2 days before the game kicks off. He has no interest. He literally has no interest in this club. And I had Stan the man on the watch along last night. He said he doesn't think this will get any manager. I'll tell it here or not. He doesn't see things getting any better. Why we've got Arsene Wenger players in this club? Xhaka's, Aubameyang, Lacazette. The players are still here from end of Wenger's time, because he's still got that bit of a easy culture, like laid back. We don't need to do anything. Oh, okay, that's cool. It's no coincidence that most of the players he's got out are from Wenger's era.
No, I mean,
Ozil, Socrates, Kolasinac, for example.
I think Socrates was a Emirates.
Mustafi.
But I mean, I kind of see that point, and I do. But also as well, maybe if we had more Arsene Wenger players, we'd be changing for the top 4, since we managed to get the top 4.
I've seen people put bits and pieces up, and it's like I was saying in the group chat, me and Ryan this morning. You can see the decline from when Wenger's last season, Emery's first season, Arteta's now full season here. There's a steady decline. It was not even steady now. It's so dramatic. It's unreal. But even under Wenger, our home form was never this bad. We weren't losing double-figure games at any season at his time. 20 years and we never lost. And suddenly he goes. Well, 3 seasons later. We're now in our 12th defeat as of last night in just a league.
Yeah, I know.
Apparently that's not a suckable offence.
The decline has been dramatic, actually. We've got our Liverpool fans who were on the other night, the 1892 Reds podcast. Said, hey, let's hope you all well. Unlucky with the result. I don't think it was unlucky at all. I think we got what we deserved, actually. And he said, so I'm sure the rest of the Europa League will do well for the rest of the season. Well, I'm glad you're confident we'll do well, because I'm not. I can't say I was winning another match. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I thought Liverpool played well yesterday. We can't get away from that fact, but we did. As Ryan Will said before, we made it easy for them. It was like a training game for them. They didn't have to overexert themselves. They've got a game on Wednesday.
It was literally like Arsenal going into that game. The players went into that game seeing Liverpool as they're going for the title, like from last season. We're playing at Liverpool. We showed them too much respect. We didn't. Yeah. We had one shot. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. One shot on target, and that's from my replacement left back in the second half or two. Okay, but in 90 minutes at home, and then also what annoyed me even more was it was the 20th anniversary of Rocastle.
Yeah, no, that was.
And I didn't do a minute's silence, by the way. But that annoyed me. That annoyed me in the first place. Not just a minute's silence, but to show no passion, no desire, everything he stood for, and you've just gone, okay, whatever. It does piss me off. It does my head in. How I held it back last night, I don't know, because I wanted to really go for one, because that disgusts me, especially when they spent the whole week, the club itself, Rocky this, Rocky that, we're doing all this, program this, putting stuff out last night, and then the performance like that. And also, this is another thing that came up is with Arteta. He's been in the job 16, 17 months, nearly 18 months, basically. And he's constantly, every week, his back four changes every game. How can he not know what his best back four is? Because that's not helping the likes of a couple of Gabriel and Mari coming in. That's not helping them settling either, because they're in, out. Even when they're doing brilliant ahead of the likes of Rob Holding, that Rob Holding gets in if Louise is injured. It's either him or Mario, or him and Gabriel. For me, when Louise isn't available, the best partnership is Mari and Gabriel. And yes, they're both left-footed, but they work together. And obviously, Anthony said communication-wise, there's no problem, because they could both speak the same language.
Yeah.
Our only consistent in terms of a back four when he's not injured is Kieran Tierney. Everyone else gets in, out.
Yeah, no, they do. Yeah, we make far too many changes. I mean, yesterday maybe we might have been better off playing Chambers at centre back instead of Holding and Cedric in at right back. I know at the end Cedric would have had to have played left back in the end. They had to move the cross. Maybe that would have been a better way to have started, because Holding to me hasn't been good enough at all. He makes too many mistakes. That first goal. I mean,
another Wenger player.
I mean, that's. Yeah, well, he is another Wenger player, but I'm not necessarily saying that's the reason.
No, but I'm just saying part of that core that he's
he's won the FA Cup a few times, so he's got experience being successful. I think it's more the attitude of the players more than the players themselves. Yeah, mentally, as Ryan's pointing it to his head, he's right. This is what it is. It is a mentality issue, definitely. I mean, Ryan Wilson, what do you think needs to change then? I mean, that mentality, is it coming from the players? Yes, probably to a certain degree, but surely Arteta needs to be doing more to instill this in them. I mean, as Ryan just said there, the whole Rocky thing this week, if the players can't get up for that, seeing all that stuff about Rocky and how his attitude to the club and when he stepped on that pitch, they can't reproduce that. That's, I don't know, who's to blame for that, do you think?
Do you know what? Even with, I don't want it to come off disrespectful, because I grew up, I didn't even get to see Rocky in an Arsenal shirt because I was too young. But he set the standards, as well as a lot of other Arsenal legends. That's supposed to be installed of you from the moment you sign the contract, right? So you have to turn up anyways. And this has been my argument throughout the last few, longer than that. So for me, who I blame upstairs. And it comes all the way down to Arteta, to the players, and then so on. Because, Rich, me and you spoke about this as well. I told you how I feel about Arteta. Ryan knows how I feel about Arteta anyways. I'm
fully on board, by the way. I'm fully on board.
Okay, all right, cool. But this is the thing. It's like, this is what happens. When you're not showing any ambition, board-wise, own-wise, this is what you get. You don't hire the right people in charge, this is what you get. So when we got a mix of Wenger players, Emery players, and Arteta players, this is what you're going to get, a combustible element. And, people were saying our defense was fixed. Okay, it looked decent a few times, but I'm sorry, it's not sustainable. No. Rob Holding, look, this is the thing about Rob Holding, yeah. And I've said this before. I said, you know what? That season before he got injured, he didn't look too bad. He didn't look too bad, to be real. Then he come back and he just hasn't been the same. If anything, he got worse, right? And the thing that annoyed me the most was the fact that when I saw the team sheet and I saw Rob Holding, I thought, great. You know what I mean? Because I don't think we'll ever see Mary and Gabriel personally, guys. I don't know about you. We won't see that.
No, I don't.
You know? And this is the thing. What was in my head was the last time Rob Holding played for us. I remember what happened because I do. Do you want me to tell everybody?
Go on. I know, but yeah, go on.
Manchester City. Who remembers that?
Yeah.
The same situation. The only difference is Callum Chambers actually got close to his man. And I saw people getting at Chambers for that, and I thought, nah,
What's he meant to do? Just stand there. Yeah. What's Chambers meant to do? Just stand there and watch.
Exactly. And this is the thing. It's like, Holding, you're right there. You don't look over your shoulder at all, do you?
No. There's
no
awareness.
And I have my gripes.
This is the thing. There's no awareness around him. He watches the game, watches the ball go all over the place. He doesn't watch what's around him. There's no awareness whatsoever. Hence why Yotta didn't get to in the position what he did, and then go Chambers side, then running back trying to do Holding's job. What Holding should be doing?
Yeah. No, I mean Holding's been poor, very, very, very poor. And every game he's got a lapse of concentration in. He's not aware of what's around him, and he's responsible for too many goals. I mean, it's only about the defensive improvements. When was our last clean sheet? Can anyone remember?
Well, Russ looked into it last.
Man United,
nil-nil Man United. Yeah, Russ looked into it last night. Is it 9 games?
Goals in that game. Let's not forget. We wouldn't have kept a clean sheet if they could have finished that day because they had so many chances to score that they missed.
Yeah.
So,
we could have nicked it at all.
Yeah, we could have done. Definitely. That was there for the taking. But
that was the end of January.
In that game, we were lucky to keep a clean sheet, and we haven't improved defensively. That's 6 goals in the last 2 games. Defending for pretty much all of them. Yes, some of the goals have been well created, I guess, to a certain degree, and well taken. The Liverpool goals yesterday, but poor defending from us. Russ in the chat there has gone. Brighton, Fulham, and Burnley beat this Liverpool team. Yes, they did. Although that was all at Anfield as opposed to away. I think it's slightly different, but anyway, we didn't put up a fight. No, we certainly didn't. The white flag was raised before the whistle was blown. It was. Yeah. Right about that. We went out there almost as though, if we lost 1-0 like we did against Man City, that's not too bad. That was almost the attitude I felt from the start. And
I felt that too.
It was also like, it was also like it was like a game where Arsenal going for a title needed a point to stay top of the league. It was that's that sort of attitude that they went out with, like just try and keep it the score at 0-0 or whatever, get out, whatever. As long as you don't lose, that was their whole thing. And even at 0-0, the first subs both teams made. From a manager's perspective now, Arteta brings on El Neni for Ceballos. And Ceballos, don't get me wrong, Ceballos had a piss poor game last night, like most of them. He was invisible, didn't even notice he was on. Who did they bring on? He changed the game.
The game changer, Jota.
Yeah, we have a game. The thing is, we have a game changer. We brought him in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
When the game was dead.
That was my point at the time when we made that substitution. Yes,
get in Newcastle.
Have they scored?
Willock.
Is it 2-2? Joe Willock. 2-2. Oh,
yeah, Willock.
Well done.
Literally just look down and he's off celebrating. Yeah.
I mean, I thought at the time, yes, Ceballos was terrible and probably deserves to get taken off if we're totally honest. But Liverpool brought on a substitute to win the game. We brought on a substitute to try not to lose, and that just sums up the whole attitude of the manager. And I mean, I would have brought Martinelli on at half time because Aubameyang was in that game, and he's as we all said, he's not interested in playing for Arsenal anymore. He's
same as West Ham, Rich. Same.
Yeah.
Because you would have sucked him on half time then as well.
Olympiacos as well. He was really poor.
Benfica.
He's been poor a lot this season, and yes, he's got a few goals here and there, and he tends to be scoring. He gets a hat-trick against Leeds, he gets a couple against Benfica. Everybody thinks, oh, that's fine, but all the other games in between, he's anonymous. He doesn't do anything, and he doesn't. As Anthony pointed out before, and I think he's right. Maybe he didn't really want to stay at Arsenal, but he had no other offer, so he thought, well, I might as well stay there. I'll sign, I'll get the money, and that's it. and he's just going to see out his career the next 2 years, and just
Yeah,
sort of tread water. That seems to be what he's done.
Because
he seems to be.
Because if he was really happy at Arsenal and wanted to become a legend, as he said in writing that interview after he signed the team, he would have signed it long. He would have signed it 12 months prior.
Right at the start, when he was
as soon as it was offered to him, he would have signed. Of course he would. And that's it's like Anthony said, and I totally agree with me. Like, he'd begrudgingly just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Because no one else wanted him. Yeah.
No, because but it's not our fault that no one wanted him. It's the fact that a pandemic happened and clubs couldn't afford to justify his wage, because his wage would have gone even higher than what he's got at Arsenal.
No, it was partly that as well. Definitely, yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I hadn't really maybe thought of it like that until he pointed it out, but I think he's right. You can see by his attitude. I don't think, and I think it was the same with Ozil actually. I think Arsenal only offered Ozil that contract because we'd lost Sanchez and they didn't want to lose both of them. And I think Ozil was the same. Nobody wanted Ozil. So he signed it and just went through the motions, and it's happened again. We haven't learned from it, have we? I mean, crazy.
But also, what's annoying me is this whole situation of Aubameyang. Now he's been shoehorned into the team for the last couple of games. It does seem like it, to be honest, from my perspective. That it is stunting Martinelli. And what does my head in is that Arteta comes out every time. Oh, he's fantastic in training. He's doing everything I'm asking of him. But he's on the bench, or he's not in the squad at all. How's that helping him? Because now he's going to feel like, well, hang on, you don't believe in me. Then someone else, a couple will come in and go, okay, boom, and he's off, and he'll go bang elsewhere.
If he's doing everything that he's supposed to be doing in training, he should be in the team, then, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
Surely. Otherwise,
by that logic,
what's the point of him doing everything in training, and if he's not going to get picked in the team? And Arteta's made that quite clear. Something's not right.
This is the manager saying this. He's doing everything like, well, hang on. You talk about all these non-negotiables. Like, there's a mentality change you've got to have in it. But then you're punishing the people that are actually stepping up and rewarding the person who turns up late every time, just because he's got the armband.
Exactly. Now, go on, Ryan. Go on.
I agree with you guys completely. You know what? Yeah, and I've been saying this for a while. I think the way Arteta set up Arsenal this season, it's like we were prepared if Aubameyang was gone. Because let's think about it. He has regressed, let's be honest. Naturally, he will regress because of his age and everything. Because let's face it, last season was probably his best season at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Facts, right? And this is the thing. It's like when Lacazette's there with the youthful springs of Saka, Martinelli, ESR, when they're there, Lacazette, we all get at him for dropping back and that, but he helps them and he allows them. You know what I'm saying? He allows them to do what they're doing. With Aubameyang, it feels like a little bit like Pepe. It's like he has to force the situation, etc. My thing is, listen, if Aubameyang's here, just play him a striker. Okay, rotate between him and Lacazette. I mean, that's all we fucking ask for. It's as simple as that. We know Aubameyang's been absolutely shit this season. Sorry, Rich. I'm sorry. I'm still kind of got a little percentage of anger. You know, I've calmed down a lot. You know what I mean? But my point is look, like you said, Martinelli's growth is potentially getting stung right now because of this. But you know, Martinelli, Willian, yes, I'm gonna throw Willian in that hat. Pepe, you know what I mean? Saka, you got options there, even Reece Nelson, even though I felt he should have went on loan personally. But that's options there. There's like 5 dudes there that can play that position. Oh, sorry, Smith Rowe 2. But I know 2 of them are out, injured. So that's 6 characters. Even Odegaard can play there. You know what I'm saying? So that's 7 characters. Again, Aubameyang is getting forced there. And as he's regressing, Arteta is playing what? You know what I'm saying?
Head in the sand football, yeah.
Yeah, head in the sand football. And this is the problem. I keep saying this. Aubameyang is causing a hindrance by playing on that wing. He should be playing up top as long as he's here. You know? I've had people say to me before, maybe we should have sold him this, that, and a third. Maybe we should have let him go. At the time, I was in the middle of it because I saw the points. Then I saw the other point of, well, maybe we just need someone that could play the ball to him and play to his strengths. And we haven't been doing that. So Aubameyang feels that way, where it's like, well, they're not playing towards my strengths, so I can just do what I can on the left. And plus, I'm the club captain now. So there's a little bit of an attitude there. That's how I generally feel when I watch Aubameyang. It's like I can't be bothered because you guys have lied to me. And this is why Sanchez left, Van Persie left. Bare people have left.
Fabregas, Nasri,
Exactly. It's the same shit every year. And why is that? Because the big guys upstairs don't give a toss and don't put pressure, not just on the manager, but on the players as well. Because they could just say to the players, listen, you're going on the transfer list. Regardless of what the manager says, you're going on the transfer list. I want you out. When there's nobody that cares, this is what happens.
Well, even going back to when this pandemic all started, and there's all these talk about pay cuts within individual clubs to how much percentages and all that. The club themselves put a clause in saying if next season you qualify for Champions League via the league or you win the Europa League or whatever, you'll get what you're giving to us now, what you're willing to lose now, you'll get back, and a bit obviously bonuses and all that. There's an incentive. Even the club, they've tried an incentive there. It's not worked as well. But as you said, this has been coming for years. Ever since he got the majority of the club shares, this has been coming. This decline has been. You could see it from our own perspective. Because we're fans, we see it week in, week out. So, but there's nothing we can do because he's made it everything private. There's nothing we can possibly do, especially now in the pandemic. It's not we can go fuck march to the stadium and we'll make a massive protest. Silent protest or not or whatever. We can't do that. We can't boycott the hit me where it hurts and boycott the going to games like we did when Wenger's got bad with Wenger. When things really got bad with Emery, people weren't turning up to that last game. It was pretty much half full, not half empty, whatever. You can't even do that to send a signal out. No. We're literally all doing what we're doing at home. They clearly don't pay attention to social medias and all that.
Right? They don't care because it's cost them money, so they're not bothered, are they?
But you know what? Let me quickly inject quickly. The thing is, even if there wasn't a pandemic, and I'm going to be very rough and brutal when I say this, just like my beard, right? ain't nobody doing that for the owner, right? No. Because when it was all Wenger out and this, that, and the third, I was saying, listen, I want Wenger to go. Thank you for the memories and all that, but you overstayed your welcome. I felt, whole FA Cup, the United 8-2, and I was kind of in and out watching Arsenal at that point, anyways. That season, funnily enough, the Aston Villa FA Cup, perfect opportunities to go. But of course, he stayed on for whatever reason it was. He has his reasons. However, my thing is, we could have all went through this before. Maybe it would have been worse than now, or it could have got better longevity. We could have been on the come up. But my point is, the fans have let. I don't know about you guys. I feel we all let ourselves down by still not making our voices heard that the owners need to sell. Because, like I said, with Liverpool, they made it clear. And all we got was our manager, our greatest manager out. That was it. That was all it.
And
that was it. The rug. And I'd be excited.
And as soon as the fan base, that side of it, as you said, Wenger went, the fan base went, okay, cool, whatever. We'll complain here. Cool, whatever. We'll complain a bit here and there.
Complacent. Just like the club. Sorry, right.
It's like you said earlier. We were talking on WhatsApp and all that. Part of this, there's a big part of this fan base that accept this. They don't know. They know no better, so they accept it for what it is. Whereas we're of a generation where we know bigger and better, so we expect more. We want more. Basically, we don't want to go back to this way because, like Richard, for example, he saw football, Arsenal on their knees back in the 80s when the Terry Neal's era and all that. And we're slowly going back to that again. And the thing is,
it might get worse.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, it's probably worse now because, back then, you knew that you could make up that gap a lot more easily, whereas now it's not that easy to make up the gap because of the financial side of the game changed so much. And we're miles behind the top teams now, not only on the pitch, but to get there, it's going to cost a lot more money, a lot more investment. And that wasn't the case back in the 80s. George Graham did it in 2 years, didn't he, when he came in and basically challenged Liverpool. And it only took him 2 years. And he did it with a lot of young players that didn't cost any money.
But he didn't take shit either.
You can't do that now. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. It takes investment, and until we've got the owners to invest properly, we're never going to be able to do that. And we're stuck in this situation.
Sorry, just adding to what Ryan said about obviously what Liverpool did to get the Gillette out and Gillette and Hicks out at the time. Our best opportunity for that was when Usmanov first put that bid in back in the end of the the 16-17 season. When that offer first went in, we should have all come together as a fan base and gone, because for me, all what I do is, out of the two, Usmanov is the better of two evils, let's be honest. No matter where the money coming from, I don't care, because fucking Roman at Chelsea's doing okay.
Look at Everton now.
He's about to fully take over. As soon as they get that stadium up and running, he's going to fully go, well, hey, apparently.
They're going to be they're the team to watch in the next few years. Everton. They're going to be back.
And that was the perfect opportunity for our fan base to go for that. From that moment in May that year, for the whole summer, put the pressure on Stan and Josh to fucking piss off. But no, he rejected. You won't set up. Okay then. Oh well, sit back and just soak it up.
Sit back and pray more, like. You know what I'm saying? And this is the thing, like. We scream about mediocrity because this is what the club wants. Then it just spreads to the fans. This is the problem. It's like, you'll see on Twitter, like, oh, we know Twitter's a dangerous place. But some fans just like, if we had Xhaka yesterday, it would have been all right. I'm like, listen, like, the thing is, I hear why you're saying that. But the only reason why you're saying it is because, when you look at Ceballos, El Nene, and Xhaka, who stinks more in current form? You know what I'm saying? And it's Ceballos stinks out of the worst of them, but they still stink. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like your standards are at Xhaka. We need to be buying better than Xhaka, better than all three of them. And you know what I'm saying? But you know what? This is the problem, right? We need to stop, and this is what Anthony said, and I'm glad he said this. We need to come away from the snob attitude, because let's face it, when I look at some of the greatest teams that I grew up watching, they came in for cheap. None of them were 40 mil. None of them were 50, 60. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they're legends. So we don't recruit smartly enough. The example, Aston Villa. Look at West Ham. Souček didn't even cost that much. And look at West Ham all right now.
Kofal, Bowen.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So many players, and I've been screaming for Arsenal for years and years, buy some Prem players and build around the youth that are coming up. It makes sense. Adaptation is not going to take long. Stop getting guys. Listen, I understand we do need some experienced players as well, but there's a limit. Exactly. All we need is a balance. But if there's no balance upstairs, there's definitely going to be no balance on the pitch. And this is the problem. So because cut out the snottiness, because I want best for Arsenal. I want to be there challenging City, challenging United and everybody else for title. But reality says we ain't going to get there like that, because we ain't got no owners that give up about this club, and they hire the right people. So, at the end of the day, the only thing we can do right now is hire some people that actually make sense and recruit better. But first of all, get rid of this crap. And this is why I've said it time and time again this season. Europa League, it's not happening. And I hate to be that fan, but I'm going to be that fan because Arsenal have showed me that by the transfer window in the summer. You're telling me Gabriel and Partey is enough to try and get the Europa League? Yeah, right. Get out of my face. I'm telling you. Everyone's got hope because we've got into the quarterfinals. Don't get me wrong. You can have hope. I had hope in 06 but against Barcelona. I ended up in tears that night. Yeah. So, and Europa League a few seasons ago. I was numb. I just sat there in silence. And my cousin, who supports Chelsea, he didn't even say anything to me. He just said, wow, what happened to you? That's it. They didn't even need to win it. It's just an extra trophy for them.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. Summed up. I mean, Shane in chat there says, what can the fan base do to protest against the owners? Stop going to games, or we're not there anyway. We bought out 12 kits this season. Finally, probably more kits than wins in the league.
Because they're living off nostalgia. That's why, and they know how to get the fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Look at this kit, the kit behind me. I didn't even want to buy it. They got me with the advert. They got me with that advert, and I was like, I'm an idiot. But you don't see me with this season's kit. You won't see me next season with the next kit. I said to myself, do you know what? This is the first kit I bought in like the last kit I had, Fabregas was still here.
Oh God,
Fabregas was still here. That was the last kit I had, the yellow away kit with the
I'm
blue
gonna
on the
buy more of
shoulders.
the retro stuff, I think. Anyway,
And that,
oh,
yeah,
bloody hell.
me
the
too.
retro stuff better. I mean, Gary then has popped in the chat. Says Arsenal doesn't want fans in the stand with the current structure. No way. Imagine last match, all fans booing Arteta out, KSC, everyone out. No, exactly, he's right. And as Russ put in the chat earlier there, Arteta would have been gone before Christmas. I think he might have been fans in the ground because of the
Villa game. The Villa game.
The Villa game would have been. Yeah. I think the Burnley game, actually, I think he might have survived until that Burnley defeat. And then when we lost Burnley,
give or take, yeah.
I think that might have been it. I think that might.
Knowing these people, you're right.
And Shane says, yeah, we just scrapped our scouting system. Yeah, we did. We don't even want to spend money on scouts. Well, where are we going to get the players from? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where are we going to find players if we haven't got any scouts? Let's just use Football Manager to make that signing too. I think that's what we've been doing anyway. That's how we got Pepe, surely. We didn't get him from watching or they watched a YouTube video. That must have been it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we're in a mess, right? And yes, I'm frustrated with Arteta. I'm not sure if he's the right manager. We're all frustrated with a lot of the players. We're not sure if they're the right players. But ultimately, while we've got these owners in place and while the structure of the club is the way it is, we're never going to get out of this downward spiral that we're in. The best that we can hope for is that we might scrape into the Europa League either this season, seems unlikely now, or we may scrape into it next season. Again, that seems unlikely if we're not in Europe next season. And yeah, we're in a mess that isn't going to be easily solved, and it's not going to be solved. It's not even going to be solved by changing manager necessarily. Yes, I think another manager could get more out of this team, get more out of these players, maybe get slightly better results. We could maybe be 8th or 7th in the league, or 6th maybe instead of 9th and 10th and 11th, and we could possibly get into Europe that way. But we're not going to massively improve. We're not going to be suddenly challenging for the top 4 regularly or challenging for the league just by changing manager, because the team needs massive investment, and we're not going to get that with this owner. We're not, and we know that. So what we've got to try and do is try and get the best out of what we've got. And unfortunately, Arteta has shown he isn't able to do that. He's not able to do that. And
but he was never able.
No, he wasn't. You're right. He wasn't. He was an experiment. He was an experiment. It hasn't worked.
It's like Anthony said earlier, a few others have said about the Lampard, but for losing Lampard as an example, at least he got, even though he wasn't a load of it, he got some experience elsewhere at Derby. They're going to Solskjaer had experience at Mulder and Cardiff respectively. He had no experience whatsoever. But Pep Guardiola at Barcelona B team came and then graduated because of how well he was doing there. He earned that right. Arteta had no experience. Even Everton didn't want him. Why didn't we? Well, how is it that the Everton legend didn't go to Everton and they got the Ancelotti? And how club at Arsenal did not get Ancelotti, for example, or an Allegri or whoever, someone who can get? Because again, doing the watch along last night again, saying Stan was on. He asked a question. Player wise, taking out the equation of the manager and what's going up and upstairs. Player wise, is this player wise squad stronger or better than what Emery left us in?
Yeah, I think it is.
And we all agreed to say but then we're going backwards still. We're getting worse and worse and worse. And what's the dominating factors apart from the board and the owner is Arteta. And what's not helping him is I go back to the constant rotating of the players at the back, forward, and midfield, and players are in form, getting dropped out for players that are not good enough or in form just because they've got the armband or because they've done well before. I mean, Lacazette and Aubameyang have only worked as a duo for one season, and that was under Unai Emery.
Yeah,
that's his first. That's his first season.
What big club, right, with ambitions of being in the Champions League would employ a manager with no experience of being a manager at the top level? Which big club would do that? Nobody. No other club. No other club that wants to be in the top 4, wants to be challenging for the major honours would do that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't.
You know what? You know what?
Did you see Man United doing that? I know Ollie's not got much experience, but he has got experience. Chelsea, even with Lampard, as we said, he had a little bit of experience. He wasn't a complete rookie manager, was he? You know, no other club, Tottenham wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? We brought him in.
And with Lampard, when as soon as he got that fund to spend and it didn't work out,
they got rid of him.
Yeah,
but that's because he threw his players under the bus, which you know, for Chelsea, that's damning. I mean, shit. And they trusted him.
Yeah, and that's another thing that Arteta's inconsistent with. Pepe threw Pepe under the bus after the Leeds game. A week later, Bernie and Xhaka does the complete opposite, protects him like you wouldn't believe. Willian breaks COVID. Yeah. Willian breaks COVID and goes to Dubai, protects him and keeps on playing him and selecting him starting 11 at the time. Aubameyang, there's clearly issues there behind the scenes. Apart from that Tottenham game, he's constantly playing. It's the inconsistencies there. He's throwing some people, but he's not throwing the others. He's not consistent enough with that either. So that's causing more division. The players are like, for me, I think the players themselves, after they had that little bounce when he came in last season and towards the end when the summer came, June return came, after that bounce went and they sort of thought, we don't know. You haven't earned the right for our respect. You haven't done anything previous to come here to demand what you're doing, to install what you're doing. I mean, for the international break, we drew 3-3 to West Ham. When your senior players is coming out and saying we didn't listen, we didn't take notice of what Arteta's telling us before that West Ham game, before kickoff. We didn't listen to a single instruction. We didn't believe in it. That's damning. That's concerning. And it's not even a big if now. If coming into the season we finish outside the European spots in the league, we fuck up. We do what we usually do, bottle the European competition, don't get any European football for next season. If he's still in charge this summer, I'm going hard on the board, hardcore, and I'm gonna keep doing what I can to get my message out to everyone to get on board and get these arseholes out. Because if that sends a clear message that they don't give a shit fully, that their ambitions, all this PR bollocks of wanting to win the titles and winning European competition, but be at the big tables, is a load of bollocks that you've all bought. All you season ticket holders, until they piss off, unless he is sacked, then whatever, they see you bring in, don't renew your season tickets. Why? I know it's hard. We know we're all Arsenal, so we want to support our team, but at the same time, we're getting over the wall back from our loyalty here.
It's been like that for years, though.
No, but now is a really good time, isn't it? When you think about it, right? We've not been allowed to go to football for a year and a half. Well, you know, it will be the time we're allowed back in. So it's not like we're going to be taking away something from ourselves that we've been enjoying anyway, because we've not been there. So it'd be no big deal to say, right, we're not renewing our season tickets. We're not going to go to games until the owners are out, and it'd be easy to do that now because everyone's got used to not going to games. Just carry on doing that for another year or however long it takes. And then it won't even take a year because, you know, you imagine we start up next season, fans are allowed in and we're playing in front of 5,000 fans or 6,000 fans because that's what the owners will be out of that club within 2 months. Guarantee it, they will. They won't.
You know what? Why didn't we do this before? This is what I was saying earlier. We had the best opportunity. We didn't do it.
Yeah.
No, I agree. We didn't. But the reason for that is because people were too used to. They didn't want to give up the football that they go to every week, right? They didn't want to give that up because it meant too much to them. And you can understand that, right? Because people go to football and they love going and they love the old social aspect of it and all that kind of stuff, which is great.
And it was really some normal day-to-day life.
And you can understand why it was a big, massive step for people to say, I'm not going to do that for 2 months or 3 months or however long, right? And it was a big step for people to do. But now people are used to not going. So it's no big deal now. Give up your season tickets now. Do it now. And then that way we're going to get the message across to the owners. And this is the time to do it when people haven't been going to games. Because they need us back desperately because they need that money from ticket sales. They need it desperately, right? Now's the time to say, no, we don't want you at the club. We're not going to support you. And until you leave, we're not going to come and support the team in the stadium. Yes, it's a big decision. It's a tough decision to make. But ultimately, you've got to look at what's best for the club in the long term going forward. And now's the best time to do it because we're all used to not going to football anymore.
Yeah.
We've got used to it. And yes, we miss it and we want to be back, but we've got used to not going. So now's the time when it's going to be the easy. We'll never get this opportunity again because once everyone's back in the ground and people are going again, they're not going to want to give it up because they've given it up once when it was forced. They're not going to choose to give it up again. They're not. So this is the time. The only time we're going to do it is now or next season when obviously fans can come back and they're going to be desperate for us to come back. They'll be doing everything. They're going to want fans in there so much. And now's the time to say, actually, we don't support you as owners. We're not going to give you our money and we're not going to give the money to the club. We're not going to buy the new kit. I know I've got a new shirt in the background there, but we're not going to buy the new kit next season. We're not going to buy any merchandise. We're not going to do anything. But now's the only time it'll work because we've been used to not going. And to be honest with you, I've been watched that game yesterday, and not only that game, but many games this season. I'm not missing going to games to watch that absolute bullshit. I'm not missing it.
I'm not enjoying it.
It's the perfect time to do it. If we're going to protest against the owners, do it now. Or next season, or with the start of next season, obviously, when we can go back in.
From the summer onwards.
Perfect time, yeah. It's the perfect time to do it. It definitely is. There's no doubt about it. Lucas in the chat, he said, big up, Ray, loves your channel. I feel Arsenal yesterday were very poor. Yeah, we all do, mate. Don't worry.
There's two Ryans here, by the way. So it's one.
Let's take both credit, Ryan. Come on.
Exactly.
Both of you. Let's go. He says, he thought Arteta got it all wrong yesterday. Yeah, starting Chambers. Yeah. But see,
Chambers didn't do. For me, Chambers. Yeah. For me, Chambers didn't do too bad. Again, he did in that first goal. He was doing what Holding should have done because Holding's not aware. So in Chambers sees that, so he's then tracking back, breaking his neck, but he hasn't got there in time. But it's not his fault. It's Holding's fault for not being aware of his surroundings, and that's a trait of Holding since he's come back from the injuries. We've seen it against Man City. We've seen it in other games.
Yeah.
For me, what else could Chambers do?
Not start Chambers and Holding. Yeah, you can't start Chambers and Holding.
Oh yeah, For me, it's the main issue is Holding. That's when Emirates is injured. If someone's got to play right, it's Holding. Yeah. Since he had his ACL surgery and all that, he hasn't been the same. Like we said, I don't think he was going to get any better. And I think there's a reason why we were looking to get him, send him out to someone like Newcastle this season. But my question is, why at the last minute change your mind again, like they did with Ainsley back in the summer with Wolves?
Maybe the Murray injury was probably the reason. That's the only thing I can logically think. But at the same time, Murray's been injured, and the deal was still on the table. Yeah. I mean, we could have sold him to West Ham. They didn't do it. You know, so I don't know.
Even that's the case. Is a transfer window. The window was extended, so they would have had time to. If Holding had gone out, they would have had time to still go and get replacement, even if it was a loan or whatever, in that summer window. Because they still there. Yes, even Saliba, Socrates, even though he was out of favour, you still had other options there.
Yeah,
but
Shane says there, going back to what we were talking about before, he said tourists will take fan seats. Kroenke don't care who sits on them. Yeah, they would, but not.
That's what I'm worried about.
You're not going to get 40,000 tourists coming. You're not when Arsenal are not losing games and playing the way we've been playing. You're not. Yeah, you'll get some, and more of those will come because there'll be more seats available. But this ground's still going to be more than half empty, and I think it will make the point. Terry says that on bang on, he's not renewing his. Fantastic. You need more of that though. It's not just.
We all come together. That's what I'm saying. We all come together and actually spread the word and say and have that motion in place of, you know what, you're not doing right by us, so why the hell should we do right by you and give you our money, our hard-earned money, especially in this situation that we're all in as a whole. You know, just go away. Otherwise, we ain't going. And as you said, Richard, because of the last 12 months, it's become the norm that we're not going to games. It's a lot easier for us to go do that route. Whereas obviously before it was obviously the norm back then was week to week get that release. Whereas now we're just at home watching it anyway. So. Yeah,
and people have got used to not going. That's the point. Whereas, people wouldn't have given up going because of how important it was to everybody. And I understand that. We all understand that. But now we've not been allowed to go. Now's the time to do it because it's not going to hurt as much not to go because we've got used to it. And doing it for another 2 or 3 months or however long it takes to get new owners in that's going to take the club forward, it's got to be worth that sacrifice, surely. After all this time, it's got to be worth it. Shane says there, Twitter and social media can be bad, but fans can use it to unite, to protest Fans' relationship not really messed up. No, I agree. We could use social media to do it, but it needs thousands and thousands of people on board, doesn't it? All the season, or most of the season ticket holders not to renew.
Yeah.
It needs everybody to be strong and say, right, we're going to do this for what's right for the club. We've got the power ultimately. It's like everything, isn't it? The people have the power, and we just never use it enough, and we need to use it now. If we're going to do it.
I know it's different times, but going back to Tony Neal's situation, I know it's different times, different people running the club at the time, but they listened. You spoke out. You had a meeting. You weren't happy with the situation, and they listened to you. And within 24 hours, he was gone.
Yeah, but the fans used to get listened to, didn't they?
That's what I'm saying.
Fans did used to get listened to, and
that was Arsenal Football Club. That was Arsenal Football Club.
That was owners that we had. We had owners that cared. That's why.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's
what
I'm saying. This Arsenal.
The Hillwoods. Look who run the club. The Hillwoods. It was a dynasty back then. That it was a passed on throughout the father to son throughout every up to the Peter Hillwood, and it just got. And obviously he's come along, done what he's done. I don't get because there's a statement came out a few weeks ago, and they're saying that came out. We surfaced a few weeks ago, basically from back when they started selling the shares to him. Instead of Usmanov, we don't trust where the money's come from, and this, that, and the other. He's not about what we stand for as a club, where Stan gets everything, but we're not seeing that. Apart from the self-sustaining model bollocks. Yeah. Apart from that, we're not seeing it, and they're Ryan. Yeah, go on. We know. Yeah, of course we know.
We know why.
Yeah,
we know why they did that. So this is what annoyed me as well, because it's like there were people quick to say Usmanov out in Kroenke we trust or something like that. I remember when that was going down.
And that Red Action Gooners with the banner and all that.
Usmanov, yep, all that. I'm thinking, okay, whatever. You don't know what you're talking about. I bet they're regretting it now. Where are they now? I don't see them on social media.
No.
And then the whole We Care Do You come out, and you know what? I was actively supportive of that because I thought, okay, we're finally going to do something. And then they backed off after the summer transfer window when we spent X amount of money. And it was like, but when I look back at that window, the only person I felt was the best signing was bloody Kieran Tierney.
And that's 25 million.
You know, exactly.
and we haggled over that.
Do you know what I mean? And was Martinelli in that? Yeah, Martinelli as well. So
Martinelli, Pepe, Tierney, Saliba, but he went back out on loan to Saint Etienne.
Louise, all that.
Louise, 8 million.
Only Tierney and Martinelli were the only ones that are working out.
Yeah.
Funny that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And yet they pay all that money for Pepe. Sorry, right, I'll let you come in quickly.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, saying funny that the young, hungry players that want to achieve things in life and want the best for the club and best for the fan base, that have some sort of passion and desire to be something other than this mediocrity bollocks, that actually they're the ones that have worked out, ironically.
Yeah, well, this is it, innit? And quickly before I'll let you guys come back in, it's just my thing is, like I said with the We Care Do You thing, they just didn't want to say anything, and then now it's like I just look, and this is I'm gonna say this as a YouTuber, I don't really care if it comes out toxic. I want best for this football club. I grew up loving this club. I don't like, everybody has their opinions and they're entitled to it, right? But you cannot slate people on their opinions. Kroenke, people need to stop coming off Kroenke, this, that, and the third, and the financials. No, I'm sorry. He is the owner. Ordered and KSC are the sole owners of this club, right? You spend money to make money. I ain't seen that. And on top of that, we've been failing since we got into the Emirates. We've been failing since he even come onto the board as majority shareholder as well. Even, you know what I mean? It's a downward spiral. Downward spiral. And what makes me laugh the most is the fact that there's so many opportunities we could have tried to force the owners out. And we ended up getting rid of Wenger, who needed to go. But him, it's the same all the time. Emery's come and gone. Arteta's hanging over a bloody bridge right now. A lot of people want to get the noose out for him. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, Okay, the managers aren't really great enough. Cool, we understand that the players aren't good enough, but the owner is responsible for all of this mess. And I'm seeing stuff on Twitter like, "Oh, leave the owner out of this. It's the manager. It's the manager." How about it's everything? How about it's everything? And just be real to yourself. Be real to yourself. I'm getting sick and tired of this, but no one seems to want to talk about the owners. We're quick to jump on Arteta. Don't get me wrong, it's justified. But when it's the owners, oh, we don't want to talk about that. Not many people are talking about it. Only a selection of people will come out and say the owners are the problem, and we know that. When it's just we need to do something and figure it out. And then once we do that, push hard, because I saw another club. Was it Wolves a couple of years ago? They weren't going in no stadium. They sat outside. They didn't even watch the game. Blackpool. Thank you. I had black and orange in my head. But yeah, it was Blackpool. Literally, sorry. But you know what? It's that FA Cup game, innit? When we played them, and half of their people weren't even there.
No, they didn't.
They sat outside.
They went to literally. They went outside. Didn't pay, but obviously didn't buy tickets. And it stood out. That was like 2-3 years they did that non-stop. Again, we've seen that, and it obviously not long afterwards. After that Arsenal game, we played them. Eventually, the guy was forced out. He had to set up. They're now moving on. They're now progressing as a club, going back to being back in the Championship and hopefully come back to Premier League one day. Hopefully, because I did enjoy him in the Premier League as well, Blackpool. But we've seen something work. There's a model there that works. So why can't we do it? Just because we're Arsenal.
Doesn't mean anything no more. I'm sorry. That's not a hybrid. This is what I keep telling people. That was a hybrid. This is Emirates. This is new Arsenal.
This is what I'm saying. Why can't our fan base take that on, see that something's worked, and go, you know what? We could do that. And because we're a bigger club and we're on the Premier League, this, that, and the other, it look bad. Because we are what we are, it would look bad on Stan Kroenke. We've got more pull, media-wise as well.
Of course we have.
It falls them out even quicker. It won't take the 2-3 years or whatever, how long it took with Blackpool. It'll be like that. But no,
I think it would take a few months, if that, for that to happen. Terry says that 50 years he's been going home and away. Excellent, that is.
Fantastic commitment.
And he said he's fed up with them treating us like mugs. Exactly, and that's the problem. I think a lot of us older fans. I mean, it's been 40 years for me actually. This year's 40 years since we first came. So it's getting to the stage now where we can't keep getting treated like mugs. Sophie's in as well. Sophie, thanks for watching. Congrats on the 400 subs. Yeah, it took a while, but I've got there, so I'm delighted. Thanks to everyone for subscribing. That's been really appreciated. And Gary's back again. Self-sustaining model works if a team is disciplined. No one is disciplined from top to bottom except Arsenal's marketing. Yeah,
if that,
you're right.
The Arsenal marketing team, don't they? And Shane says 50 years, fair play, Terry. You must have seen a lot. Yeah, good and bad, I would assume. Definitely. Luca's got his lineup for Thursday. He says Leno, Cedric, Mari, Gabriel, Saka. That's not going to happen.
Saka's still injured, so that won't happen now.
Xhaka, Partey, Odegaard, Pepe, Martinelli, Lacazette. It's a good lineup, Luca, but Arteta's not going to do it. So
you know what? I'm going to say something. Question. I want Matty Ryan. And I am sick and tired of Leno. Listen, I'm sorry. I know everyone loves Leno. I don't. Okay. I'm sick and tired of Leno.
Yeah,
he makes too many mistakes. And we could get at Ceballos. We could get a Gabriel last night. We could get a Xhaka at Burnley. Of course, they've all messed up. But where does it start from? Where does it start from?
Playing it from the back.
He's made too many mistakes. I forgot about the Europa League, and we can blame Arteta for that. But the Europa League last season, what did he do?
Yeah,
he gave him a corner. And what happened at the end of that one?
They scored. The guy knocked us out.
Right.
I
many mistakes.
I'd like to see Ryan given a run actually because
he needs a run. I'm sick and tired of him. Sorry.
So I was going to say that as well, but also with then, as I said, I think I said a couple of weeks ago I was on here, Richard, with Leno. This was a big season for Leno to step up and prove himself to the fan base because of the whole worrying somewhere between him and Martinez. The whole again the division that's called there. This is a big season, and he's declined as well compared to what we saw of him before this season. we saw we got little glimpses of him fucking up every now and then, once in a blue moon, but not consistent to this level. And if anything, this season for me, it's rammed home. If we are to be get back into top 4 alone, he's not the goalkeeper. He's not the keeper for us. We need to go and get a big a Martinez, not a Martinez type in terms of height and build, and someone that comes out and commands the box. As I've previously said, AC Milan have got the young goalkeeper has been there for God knows how long, but he's like 21, 22. Donnarumma, AC Milan, his contract's up at the end of the season. Yeah, it costs a bit because of where he's coming from and the reputation he's building over in Italy. But you know what? He comes out, he demands his box, and because he's so young, with the right coaching, again, Arsenal need to sort that out as well. We can make him even better. We can get him even better. And little things we're seeing of him at the moment where there's a little errors there. They can be ironed out because he's young and he's still learning. His trade is not the full finished article, even though he's been around since he was 15, 16 at AC Milan, something like that.
He's been about for a while.
He's been about for a while, yeah. But so there are options out there. And that's they want to go for free agents. That's the best one to go for, really.
Typical.
But
that will help them
and this is what and Martinez. So there's another thing we saw with Martinez. Because the reason I say about Martinez, because he had the height, he came out and he demanded when the balls came in crosses or corners or set pieces. He comes out, connects them. He makes the effort to either connect it or punch it out. Leonard just stays in his line. And that's he's a shot
goal I say for the header as well, mate. What was he doing? Just flat tap that, man. No, don't get me wrong. He was holding, but he didn't come out.
No,
I'd like to see Ryan have a running goal actually, just to give him a few games to see what he can do.
Yeah, otherwise, what was the point of signing him back in January? What was the point otherwise? Because otherwise he signed, played a game due to suspension, and then gone, okay, I'm sitting on the bench now.
Yeah. No, exactly, yeah. So Lucas says, the last time Arsenal played Slavia, it was 7-0. Yeah, it was. I remember that game. We played really well, didn't we? He said, personally, United will win the Europa League. Well, they've got a good chance. They've got a tougher draw, maybe.
I think Ajax will.
But they've got a great chance as well, I guess. Terry says he says it's the worst time he can remember. He said he blamed Danny was born in Italy, so he had to support Arsenal. Well,
yeah,
let's go.
But going back to that Slavia Prague 7-0 when we beat. Look who was in that team at the time though. That was when we just moved to the Emirates, so we had like Fabregas, Kleb, Rosicky, Theo Walcott just coming through. He scored 2 of the goals that night.
Yeah.
We still had Henry at the club. I think Henry is still there. This is his final season before he went to Barcelona.
No, I think it was after.
It might have been. Was it after? Because I just remember the kit. Because I think that might have been the 07-08, so second season. So we just bought Eduardo. Eduardo and Nicholas Bentner scored to tap him.
No, definitely after Henry left. Yeah.
Definitely after Henry left. We had Carlo Torre. I think Lenz was on the bench by then because obviously he made a mistake on day one of that season. He was dropped to the bench. Now Munya was in goal. Gal Clichy. Look at the players we had then. Compare them to now. How many players of this team now will get into that 11 of that night?
If we had this team now, back then, imagine that. Imagine that. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy to think back then. I was so annoyed at the players that we had then to come to this, and it's like, come on, Gary.
Gary said to tell you just want a Ryan on the pitch. Yeah, you do. That's definitely the case.
Well, I'm not going in goals. That might be you, right?
Maybe. Worst.
There's too many Ryans already. Surely there's too many Ryans.
I'll go right back at it.
Yeah, there's never too many Ryans.
Never. Maybe he's right. Maybe we do need another Ryan on the pitch as well. That'd be good. But yeah, I mean, I say we've overrun by quite a long while actually, because I was only going to do this for about an hour or so, and it's like 2.5 hours I've been going. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's been a lot to talk about, and it's been great fun, which it always is anyway. Just before you guys go, Ryan, Will, just give your channel a little plug first, because I know you're doing your own thing as well, which is good.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Rich. Right, great to speak to you again.
Yeah.
As always. Guys, want to check out my channel, Ryan Williams AFC, where you can kind of hear me rant a little bit more about this game. So yeah, check that video out. If you want to get in touch with me on Twitter, it's there at RJ Wills, or just search up Ryan Williams AFC on Twitter and Instagram as well. So yeah, thanks again for having me on, Rich.
No, it's always a pleasure. And the other Ryan as well, if you give your channel a plug as well, I know you're doing loads of stuff on your channel as well.
Yeah, hectic. And but yeah, again, thanks for having me on and for the invite and all that. I appreciate it. But yeah, you can find me here on YouTube. The Mr. Arsenal podcast is on the screen there. Find me on Twitter at Mr. Arsenal 89. Over on Facebook, you can find me on the Facebook page of Mr. Arsenal podcast, where I obviously stream off there as well at the same time. So you've got the option basically. But yeah, the next thing I've got a review / player ratings doing tonight around 7:30 UK time with myself, Melvyn, Warren, Russ, and possibly Gary tonight. So that's going to be interesting. I'm giving everyone a 0, so that's just a heads up. I'm giving everyone 0s. Apart
minuses should do minuses.
I'll try to get to minus 100.
There you go. Wow.
Oh dear, but yeah, I think I may well just go full on nuclear if things get out of hand. So that might be worth a watch.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Gary, this is a great show. Good job, Richard. Thank you very much. Enjoy being part of it. Not a problem at all. It's always a pleasure to have you on, Gary, as well. So yeah, I mean, cheers, guys, for that. It's been fun as always. And Shane there, thanks, lads. Great insight on the fan camps. Come on, you goonies. Yeah, let's hope for some better times ahead, especially on Thursday. We need to bounce back and get a good result in the Europa League and keep the season alive and running. So, but we'll see what happens with that. So yeah, thanks for coming on, you two, and enjoy the rest of your Easter, and hopefully, enjoy the game Thursday as well, which I'm sure will be. Well, won't be as bad, will it? Surely, come on, it's not going to be as bad.
It's Arsenal, Rich.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
I'm sorry. All right now.
We can't. Yeah, literally, we can't. Just after. If we play like last night, we're buggered. That's saying something.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we'll be out, and that'll be that. That'll be that.
And I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. I can't see it.
We keep being proved right, though, don't we? That's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah, that's what hurts.
I'm going to say now, if Aubameyang and Lacazette start together in the same positions as last night and West Ham, we will not win on Thursday.
Well,
I'm saying it now.
It's going to be really difficult to win because it's not worked, has it, so far?
No.
So let's hope Arteta realises his mistakes and puts them right. And let's hope we've maybe got one or two back from injury as well, which I think is important. But we'll see what happens. We can't help that, can we? People are injured, they're injured. We've got to make the best of what we've got, and that's where Arteta's maybe struggled a bit. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it's all good stuff. I'll be doing I've done a review video yesterday's game. I'll put it out maybe later on tonight, or maybe tomorrow, and then I'll be looking ahead towards obviously the Slavia Prague game later on in the week, probably Wednesday for that, and then I'll watch along as well. Those coming up on the channel, so please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Give this show a like as well. Thanks for all your comments. Loads of people in the chat as there's been today. Terry as well there. Great show. Smashed it again. Keep up the great work coming. You've done it. Thanks for Terry for your support and everybody else. And loads of people in the chat throughout all of this. Some people have probably gone now. They were in earlier. Terry seems to have lasted the distance. So, well, fair play to him. That's good stuff. But it's been great. I said Kevin was in earlier as well. Loads of other people. Too many to mention, really. We had a Liverpool fans in as well. So thanks to you guys and Dan, the Burnley fan. So, we're getting a bit of support from other clubs as well, probably because they're enjoying us because we're so terrible at the moment. So we're not a threat to them. So that's probably why they like us. Once we start winning again, we'll become unpopular. That's what happens, isn't it? Popular when you're winning games every week and beating teams. So hopefully one day we'll be back, I'm sure. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks to obviously all the guests today. Obviously the two Ryans. We had Anthony in earlier. We had Dave as well. Melvyn, of course, and Gary as well. So it's been a busy show. It's been fun. We've got yesterday out of the way. We can move forward now in a positive mindset for Thursday, looking to win this Europa League and, starting a new era of success that's going to happen over the next 5 years. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks you guys for tuning in. And as always, come on, you Gunners. Come on. Let's bounce back Thursday. Let's do it.
Thank you.